Hello there, wherever you guys are. Welcome to the CDC Watchalong for the New Zealand Sri Lanka game. By the looks of it, is going to be an absolutely important tie in this group in the larger scheme of things. I'm Avnish Hegde, and with me I have Anirudh Suresh, and of course, a familiar face that you guys have seen before on cricket.com, Bishan Jaswant. Anirudh's written the preview, and we'll get Bishan's thoughts in a bit. New Zealand winning the toss, batting first is the big breaking news out there. One change of piece for the sides. Talk to me, Anirudh.
I mean, no surprises that New Zealand have opted to bat first.
Yeah.
All three matches in Sydney so far have followed the same pattern. Team winning the toss. Obviously, Australia chose to field first in the first match, but team batting first, posting a huge score, and eventually the match turning out to be a very one-sided contest. So it will be a challenge for Sri Lanka, to say the least.
Yeah.
So I just want to touch upon one important point quickly, which is we all talk about how Hasaranga is the key man for Sri Lanka and everything, but since 2021, since the start of last year, in T20Is, New Zealand have the best average against leg spin.
Oh.
They average 40.7, and they are in fact the only team in the whole world to average more than 40
against leg spin. But mystery spin, because obviously they're not as.
We'll come to that. So Conway, as we know, he averages more than close to 75 against leg spin in this period.
Wow.
One other name which could be another potent weapon for New Zealand is Glenn Phillips.
Yeah.
He averages kind of 60 plus and strikes it over 160. And something interesting I noted was he has never faced Hasaranga, which is Glenn Phillips, not even in CPL or whatever.
At all.
Wow. But he's in T20s, he's faced about 50 odd balls against Shadab Khan and Adam Zampa, and he scored 105 runs, and he's been dismissed just once.
Yeah, it makes me think about that straight away, the matchup. I don't know, I'm second guessing here. Vish, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you think they'll straight away go with Theeksana and maybe Kumara from the other end to trouble Finale and the likes of them?
Possible, but based on the stats that Anu just given us, it's not like they struggle against spin a whole lot.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know if it makes sense. I really think the toss here played a big part.
Yeah.
Especially considering that Sri Lanka's bowling attack is significantly weakened since the start of the tournament, where they've had at least 3 pacers, they've lost 6 injuries, and a lot of it in the bowling department.
Yeah.
And the replacement pace, I think Binura Fernando has also injured himself. Right? Rajita's just come in today. So with a weakened bowling attack against a strong New Zealand batting lineup, in pitches conditions where generally batting first is preferred, unlike in the UAE where you want to bat second.
Correct.
If New Zealand put up another 200 over here, Sri Lanka are really going to struggle because their top order is a top order. Like guys like Nissanka have scored runs. I think this year he has some 600 odd runs, which is the 4th highest in T20s this year.
Yeah.
But he scored them at 110 or something like Kushal. Mendes also against pacers, guys like I think against Saudi, he's got him out 2 times in 20 balls, he's bowled or something like that.
Yeah.
And so these are not guys who are going to really enjoy facing the New Zealand pacers either.
Yeah.
So weak bowling attack, strong New Zealand batting who are in form, big total on the board against the Sri Lanka batting that's not the most aggressive.
Yeah.
This is a recipe for disaster. If I have to predict right now, big win for New Zealand.
Okay, but we've seen how we've normally had egg in our face, not just me or Som or boys like Bishan, but look, that's what makes the World Cup more interesting. No one ever called the Ireland England gun. Maybe a couple of Irish guys called it, right? But it makes you think about how Sri Lanka have done their job in the previous big tournament, Asia Cup, and they of course relied on chasing, they relied on spin. Their conditions completely different, but they have to stick to their guns.
So there's one thing about, so he touched upon Sri Lanka's batting a little bit. To just get to it even more, nearly 72% of Sri Lanka's runs have been scored by the top 4 in this tournament.
Yeah, so that's Mendes,
De Silva, Nissanka, and Asalanka.
Okay.
The problem for them is that Asia Cup, they kind of follow the same pattern, but you had Rajapaksa scoring the odd cameo.
Yeah.
You had Shanaka winning a match. You had, Hasaranga playing a good cameo. But this time, it's just not happened for them at all in the lower middle order, where I think Shanaka and Rajapaksa are both averaging under 12 and striking at under 120.
Yeah.
So they're not being aggressive, neither are they getting the runs. So it's a big problem for them, as in they're too dependent on their top 4 to just get runs.
Yeah.
So again, like he said, the problem with guys like Nissanka is that he can't go. He has a ceiling that which he can't go past. Maybe it's a 140 strike rate. Down is a good day 150.
Yeah.
So Mendes, on the other hand, can ramp it up to 180, 190. We saw it against Netherlands, but they desperately need some support from the lower order to chase whatever New Zealand put down. And I feel Sri Lanka need to get Finale early. They have to, and if they can get Williamson early in the power play and kind of use his lack of form to their advantage, then maybe if they could restrict New Zealand under
While
one.
they're at it, may as well get Conway and Phil Phillips as well.
Maybe is a critical word here. Now, what will Sri Lanka be happy chasing? I think Sri Lanka admitted that, look, at the end of the day, we're going to be chasing, and that's their strength. They've batted all games first, at least in the Super 12s, Ireland, Australia, and now New Zealand as well. So it's a good chance for them to change things.
They chased against Ireland.
Yeah, they chased against Ireland, sorry. We'll get to the fantasy picks as well, because Vishan, before entering the studio, was making his fantasy picks in the car. So obviously keen to know about who he's captain, vice captain, and then you guys can jump in the comments as well. But coming back to my earlier question, chasing, how much will Sri Lanka take right now before ball is ball? 160 on the Sydney pitch?
Below 170, I would say.
Okay.
This is a fresh pitch, so we don't know how it will play.
And we sometimes have seen how New Zealand make a 150 target look like a 180 because of that.
Oh, and we have not even went into how lethal New Zealand's bowling is.
Yeah.
It's just that Saudi has taken at least 1 wicket in his last 11 T20s.
Yeah.
His last 5 T20s, he's taken 10 wickets.
Holy hell.
And he's coming on the back of a 3-4 against Australia. So we all look at Bolt as this guy who can, run through bowling lineups or batting lineups.
Yeah.
But quietly, Saudi, he has his own method of, taking wickets. He just is in and around there. You never quite pick him as a danger man.
Yeah.
I think during the last watch-along, first Australia match, someone picked Saudi as the
captain.
Pick. I think it was Nikhil,
Yeah.
if I'm not wrong. But
Nikhil normally kind of gets a lot of
he
things
rarely gets mentioned, but I think Saudi could be a very...
And it's a great matchup.
Yeah, it's a great matchup.
Like I said, he's got Mendes a couple of times in 20 balls he's bowled to him. Plus the two Sri Lankan batters don't score. Against the top 8 teams in world cricket, the Sri Lankan openers have a strike rate of something like 110.
Wow.
Right?
Pedestrian pace,
yeah.
to say the least.
Right? So that's definitely not a good matchup for them. Plus, there is an emotional angle as well, a little bit, right? Trent Bolt and Saudi, you won't see them bowling together a whole lot going forward, since Bolt doesn't have a New Zealand central contract. He's chosen not to, for in the interest of spending time with his family or whatever it is. So you may not see them bowling together a whole lot. So for the neutral, as well as an emotional angle for the New Zealanders themselves, there's a little bit extra there from the New Zealand deck.
Thanks, Hemant, for getting involved, and of course keep the questions coming in. Of course, it's a Saturday afternoon, so we expect the viewership to pick up as we go along. This is so interesting. Ash is the only cricketer who takes crucial wickets without bowling the ball and gets crucial runs without bat. Look, we can talk about India and due course. So here for the New Zealand Sri Lanka game, and the anthems are going on. Coming back to the fantasy picks, you guys mentioned that Saudi might create havoc. Bolt is always there in bouts. Finn Allen, we've seen his exploits. Who do you have in your team?
So I have my way of picking fantasy players is to pick the guys who are likely to score volumes of runs.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't pick a Finn Allen.
Okay.
But I would pick a Nissanka, because the value of runs in fantasy cricket generally is more than the strike rate.
Oh,
and if someone gets enough volume of runs, the strike rate will eventually be good enough. There will be 4s and 6s, right?
Yeah.
So I would pick a Devon Conway over Finn Allen, and I would even pick a Pathum Nissanka because there's pressure on him to score runs.
Okay.
So he will stick around there. So those are the kind of guys I picked. Devon Conway is my captain for today.
Does Teeksana and Hasaranga feature on your level?
Hasaranga I would normally pick because he's the bowling mainstay, but having gone for none for 53 in the last game, he won't be in the most confident frame of mind. I'm picking for one game. Right?
Okay, yeah, fair.
Right. If you're picking for one game, then you pick the guys in form.
Yeah.
And therefore, I have not picked Hasaranga for this game.
Okay.
My vice captain here would be actually Pathum Nissanka.
Okay.
Because he scores the biggest volume of runs for the New Zealand team, the Sri Lankan team.
Yeah, Sri Lankan
and
team.
if you want to bet on someone scoring runs, I think he's the guy to bet on. So Convoy and Nissanka with Bolt, because he moves the ball. No one likes moving ball right up front. The New Zealand batters, I said the matchup goes against them, so I've picked.
Do you have someone like
well.
Tahiru Kumara who troubled Finch and Warner that day?
See, if you're picking,
I think he just has a tendency to leak runs at times.
Yeah.
So
one good day in 5.
He's not really a wicket taker. If you've seen his, he does bowl very attractive spell. Not really. He's hostile kind of a bowler, and that kind of makes him prone to a lot of leakage of runs and all. So Bolt, Saudi for sure, Teeksana for sure, because he's your 1 for 24. 2 for 20 kind of bowler.
Yeah, unless Finn Allen goes berserk, and Hemant has now actually talked about the New Zealand game. So he says New Zealand definitely have an upper hand. Finn Allen to fire again. What if Finn Allen just has a worldie for tournament, and that's not just a flash in the pan that we saw? Is that possible?
What if he does? Great if he does. But if I had to bet on whether he will, I would say it's unlikely.
Okay.
Right?
Because of the susceptibility to spin.
No, because of the style of play.
Okay.
Right? That style of play, you're not expected by the New Zealand team itself to score you 50s every game.
Correct.
New Zealand is expecting him to score a quick fire 30 and get them off to a good start. If he does that, his job is done. Right? So scoring 30 is a success for him. Now, to score 30 every game playing like that is like expecting Afridi in the 90s to have scored every game.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? You need one good ball to get your wicket. So it's not a bet I'd make. If he can do it, I mean, there aren't many players in the world who can, or anyone I can think of who bats like that and does it consistently, right? Even guys like AB de Villiers or Maxwell,
they have a couple of cycles.
Yeah, so no one's batting like Finn Allen and scoring runs. So I would confidently say it's not going to happen over the whole tournament.
We saw Rajapaksa, I mean, in the Asia Cup at least, go from ball one. He's been a little bit more circumspect this time around, or do you think the good old Rajapaksa will fire when he has to fire?
Let's see. I mean, perhaps he's struggling a bit with the longer boundaries, pace of the wickets and all. But I think Sydney might be a good ground for him because it has shorter boundaries on this thing. Square boundaries are shorter.
Yeah.
They just showed the dimensions, and apparently the long on boundary for the right hand is around 89 meters. It's ridiculous. But we saw in the India match as well, the square boundaries are shorter. We saw Kohli hit one over cover. I think it was a pretty small boundary. It was less than 70 meters, I guess.
Compared to the other grounds.
Compared to the other ground. So that way Rajapaksa might, and New Zealand have two bowlers who turn the ball into the left-hander, which is
so the, I mean,
and,
Akash Sivasubramaniam is not with us today, the biggest Ish Sodhi fan, so, but he will, of course, pour his thoughts in the comments, I'm guessing. Another man who's just been shoehorned in, you would say, maybe Mark Chapman's unlucky to miss this game, is Darren Mitchell. We saw what he did in the last year World Cup. He's been having a good time with the bat. We saw it in England in the longest format as well. How do you rate him as a T20 cricketer, and will he make a huge difference to an already good New Zealand side?
I'm not sure how much of an impact he can make batting lower down the order because in the last World Cup he opened, and I mean, we all kind of agree that anyone can open in T20.
Can he be a floater?
Can, but is he capable of clearing the boundaries, hit sixes? We saw Michael make that point the other day, right? When he was saying he would prefer Chapman on these kind of wickets, and maybe when there are shorter boundaries straight down the ground, he would prefer Mitchell because Mitchell has the ability to take.
Are you surprised then, in hindsight, that Chapman doesn't play against a team which banks heavily on spin? We've seen you've done a piece of how Chapman is so predominantly good against spin.
Perhaps, but not really again, because New Zealand are a side which they are a side who shows a lot of trust on incumbents. They hardly drop. Once you get into the New Zealand side, it's very difficult to get out of it.
Yeah, true.
This is pretty much the same starting 11, for the exception of Finn Allen replacing Guptill.
Yeah,
it's pretty much the exact same side that played last year in the World Cup, and the last year and the year before. So it is.
Do you think that was a hard call to make, Bish, in the sense that you have a player who has immense T20 pedigree in Guptill, done well in ICC tournaments in the past?
Avnish, just before you finish the question, I
have to run. All right.
Break.
So I'll tell you what. Finish finish reading Akash's preview piece before the game starts. We'll let him be. You can also catch him on the live blog, and we'll make a quick, clever substitution here on cricket.com, Saturdays that it is. And we've got Somesh Agarwal, who was basically using his entire day yesterday to figure out permutations, combinations for this group. And Bish, you're going to love what this man says, because he's literally done all the win possibilities for every team. How crucial is this fixture to start with? So,
okay, first of all, it's easy to do the math than actually say it out loud, and then we just everyone out. The only thing that I'll say is that in this group, every team still has a chance to not just qualify top the group. That includes Afghanistan and Ireland,
which I never thought was possible.
So,
if you don't play any matches, then I guess
it's actually happening. So really early days to talk about teams getting knocked out and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a very crucial game in the context of this group.
Yeah.
As things stand, New Zealand are clearly the favorites to top the group.
Yeah.
But if they face a hiccup here, it opens door for both Australia and England. I feel Australia are sitting at a better position than England because of the opponent they have to play.
So obviously, Australia and England fans and players themselves are hoping to be Sri Lanka winners. So.
Yeah, I mean, because the only reason is, because you might expect that other team like England and all will beat Sri Lanka and they just cancel each other.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Then that is why they would be rooting for Sri Lanka at the moment.
And look, at the end of the day, New Zealand can actually finish with 9 points. Australia, England can't. Sri Lanka can finish the group with 8 points if all goes well for them. So this is a crucial game. We're getting in the first ball, and it was a no-brainer because everyone could see it coming. Mahesh Theeksana, the 5th T20 ranked bowler in the world, to face up against Finn Allen. Predictions for the first ball, guys.
He'll play a big shot.
He'll play a big shot. I think it's going to be a timid defense. Oh, it's a timid defense. It's a timid defense, isn't it? He was just talking about Finn Allen, comparing him to the yesteryear Shahid Afridi in the 90s, which never always paid off. But once it pays off, it's beautiful to watch.
Oh, I hope he's more stable in the head than Shahid Afridi.
But Shahid Afridi had the fact that he's a bowler going for him as well.
That's
one of the world's best leg spinners. I don't think Finn Allen is going to do that.
Oh, here we go. Stay away. But they've got a mid-wicket already. But it's going to be fascinating to see how this all unravels. He had Conway in his fantasy team. I think if you were picking a fantasy team, that's no-brainer, or no? Do you actually think Conway might have a good tournament as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, why not? I mean, he's a good player, spin.
Yeah.
And
Sydney vibes before, like he.
And again, my fantasy picks, I like guys who don't have to play slogs.
Okay.
Like Conway plays the same way in all formats. Like, for example, Virat does or KL does. They bat the same way in all formats.
Beautiful orthodox shots. I mean, we saw that in that 92 not out that he got against Australia.
Yeah, I mean, enough about fantasy. Let's just discuss about
the game.
The game plan that Sri Lanka might have. So here's what I think. I mean, if they would want to get Allen out early, that's a no-brainer because he can actually finish the game off in the power play itself.
If you were in the Sri Lankan camp, how much would you be happy chasing? I asked Anirudh this, and I'll tell you what he said. But what do you like? 160,
150. Because New Zealand have a very strong bowling attack. There is, especially for Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
I mean, they have 3 proper gun pacers.
Yeah.
I know Saudi is not an ideal T20 bowler,
but he gets the job done.
But they're playing in Sydney, and the last game he used his variations quite well. And I think against Sri Lanka, he has a very good record.
So does Santner against Sri Lanka, excellent record.
Yeah, so if he gets the ball to move, then Saudi is also good, and there's no point even discussing Bolt and Ferguson and the value that they add. And see, the only thing that can work in Sri Lanka's favor when they bat is the main New Zealand spinners both will.
Oh, him! Finn Allen's goal! That's a huge wicket! And everyone could see it coming. I mean, I know New Zealand fans would be joining us right now because at the end of the day, we're going to get some New Zealand experts. But boy, oh boy, Vishan, you were spot on. No wonder they've now picked him. And look at that delivery. Honestly, with the new ball,
in swing.
There's a reason why MS Dhoni participated in the CSK, and look at his celebration.
Yeah, this is the first time he's playing against New Zealand. So, and I would actually fancy him against even Conway, no matter how good a player against.
Because he can turn the ball.
Yeah, but the only thing is he would have faced him in CSK nets.
Oh,
and now that the wicket has fallen, they will be a little less attacking.
Little less attacking.
Because of course.
But what was the message sent to Finn Allen by the New Zealand management? Just go for it. Because they're obviously thinking they're going to bowl Theeksana to him.
If he got any other instruction and he was playing like this, then there's something wrong.
He's the only Indian merchant in their top 6. I mean, barring James Neesham, but James Neesham has a different role altogether.
Yeah, correct.
So, of course, the messaging was to try and...
So now Kane's going to come in and get 7, 8, 10 sighters and chill out. But what a start for Sri Lanka this is. But even if they get 150, come back to your point, what might work in Sri Lanka's favour, and he mentioned it as well, their batting seems a little too timid. The first 2, 3, 4, until Rajpaksa, Shanaka, Hasranga come and pick up pieces.
And Shanaka scored some 40 runs in this whole tournament so far. He's not in the best of form.
Yeah.
Rajpaksa has not scored a whole lot of runs either. So they really need their top order to score runs, even if it's at a slightly slower strike rate.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So Kusal Mendes has been in a good form.
Mm-hmm.
Pathum Nissanka has been getting runs, but not at the pace that they want.
But none of them do heavy lifting, right? I mean, they rely on not physically in the gym, I'm sure they are, but you know what I mean? Shanaka, Hasaranga, and Rajpaksa, those 3.
See, they have the batters. And see, the one thing that, the point that I was making when Theeksana got Finn Allen out.
Yeah.
The one thing that can work in Sri Lanka's favor is their lefties can potentially neutralize New Zealand's spinners.
Yeah.
And that will essentially, I feel, what will decide the game.
So how many do they have? Asalanka and
Rajapaksa, but 2 important players.
They're 2 very important players. Asalanka has also not been having the best of tournaments, but what a wicket. What a wicket. They will be pumped wherever they're watching this. Colombo, Gaul, the Sri Lankan, the Asian champions, I should say. And
if Sri Lanka managed to pull this off, real kudos to them because they seem to always get themselves into a bit of a fix, like in the Asia Cup when they lost to Afghanistan first up. Then
I
to
won't be
win-
surprised if they beat New Zealand and then slip up against someone like
But they've already had a tough start here, losing to Namibia, and they've
Yeah.
had to struggle to get into Super 12s itself.
True.
Right now, they've really fight and win this game. I mean, hats off to them. They've started as well as they can on the first over. It means nothing. It's only 1 out of 40 overs so far. But
Yeah, and to
well
be
done.
fair, that match against Australia, where the spinners went for like lots of runs, they were still in the game 88 for 3 when Australians walked out 12.3.
Yeah.
Finch was looking obviously very sticky, and then it was just one mad innings to take
Yeah,
the game
50
away.
of 17, just yeah.
So they won't be criticizing their players as much. I know it was one off day for Hasaranga and stuff, but you're still
Yeah,
confident.
this is
that
where I
it's
mean
fun.
Sydney's wicket, as we've seen, has been slightly like subcontinentalish.
Yeah.
Even though the boundary dimensions are weird. I mean, I think there's one boundary towards long on which is
90 almost.
90. I think 89 meters. So, I mean,
Wow.
it's like almost next to impossible to even attempt a 6 unless you're sure to hit a 90-meter hit. So the boundary dimensions and the pitch,
Yeah.
I mean, they might work in Sri Lanka's favor. But
Who are you throwing the ball to now? Kumara?
yeah,
Over
it
now?
has to be a
Or not
pacer.
spin from both ends?
No, I mean, to, preserve spin for
The
New
middle
Zealand.
overs a little bit as well.
Yeah, because I think Darren Mitchell doesn't have a very good record against Hasaranga. I'm expecting even Nisham would want to face pace over spin. So
Yeah.
you'd want to keep some overs there. And Kane Williamson, everyone knows that he's not going to attack, so might as well just get a few overs.
Yeah. And too much spin up front means you'll have to bowl consecutive overs of pace toward the latter half,
Kasan
which you don't
Rajitha,
want
of
either.
course. Oh, so they've gone with Rajitha.
So no
who's-
Kumara.
no Kumara is yet. Maybe because, of course, Kumara, I think, is their best pacer right now. So they're just trying to slip in
No,
a few
also
overs.
because I think Kumara's style of bowling is like an enforcer bowler, doesn't really need the ball to move.
So maybe in the middle
So
overs he's
he'll
better.
be equally effective even 3-4 overs later.
Yeah.
And I think the two most important batters in New Zealand lineup are now Conway and Phillips.
Yeah.
So Sri Lanka have to plan for
Yeah.
the two of them.
And Anirudh spoke about it before you came on about how they thrive against leg spin, but leg spin and mystery spin are kind of different, right?
Yeah, I mean, Thixon is anyway. That's what I'm saying. That he's playing against New Zealand for the first time,
Yeah.
and even for Conway, who has batted against him again in the CSK Nets,
Yeah.
and is generally a good player of spin.
Is that an animal or something?
It looks like a rat from.
But yeah, going back to your point, like he's faced him multiple times in the CSK
But
Nets.
I mean, he's not a kind of a bowler you'd get comfortable with even after facing a lot.
But do you think someone like Theeksana can do a Rashid today in the sense that New Zealand actually play him very carefully and then target the rest around
So
him?
this is where this strategy of bowling when in the power play is useful.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to waste the power play.
Power
Right?
play,
Power play
yeah.
and
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
super crucial.
this is where we come back to our point on how Western use Rashid. They hardly ever bowl him in the power play.
Ooh, good movement there by Rajitha.
But also the Rashid point, you can only do that if there's only one top gun bowler.
Yeah.
Here they have Hasaranga as well, who's a gun bowler. You can't play out 8 overs.
Yeah.
Right. So
No
that
chance.
question doesn't really arise in this.
And that's why Afghanistan
And-
used Mujib.
And the
as
kind
well.
of day that Kumara had, I mean, if he just continues from there, I mean, you potentially have 12 overs of very high
Yeah.
quality bowling.
That is true. We'll take one from Akash Sivasubramaniam right now, who, of course, is the Desh Sodhi fan that I was hitting about. Unfortunately, we're not going to see Harry Potter / Sasta Pritam in the studio. If you guys know, you know. Top order has been amongst the runs throughout Sri Lanka, like the middle order. Even the assistant coach wanted the middle order to up their game, but strike rate is a big question. It's something that you said as well.
Yeah.
Not just from a fantasy lens, but generally from a cricketing lens. Someone needs to take the onus, right? They had players like Kusal Pereira, who was obviously playing Kamazgazi cricket, but none of them actually drive the initiative. Is that a problem for Sri Lanka?
It is a problem, but it's not a problem you can quickly fix here because it's a balance between runs and strike rate. Right? Now,
Yeah.
if your middle order is not scoring runs and you tell your top order to go and attack, if they get out, who's going to score the runs?
Yeah.
Right? So you just can't have a situation where the top order is going gung-ho when your middle order is not in form. So unfortunately, the top order just has to play their natural game here. Guys like Nisanka
Yeah.
have to bat at 110, 120 or whatever it is and make sure they get out of the power play at 40 for 1 kind of situation without aiming to get to 60, 65.
So what if they're chasing a 170, 180?
Even at 170, 180, you're still better off at 40 for 1 than be
30 for
60
2.
or 60 for 3 even.
Okay.
Possibly because you don't have a middle order that's going to score you the volume of runs.
Yeah.
At least 40 for 1 is salvageable. If you are already into your number 5 batsman who's not in form, it may not be a salvageable
But then law of
situation.
averages, right? Rajpaksa we hinted upon, he's not in the best of form so far. Shanaka, of course, got Castle in that hat trick that Karthik Mayappan took, and then Hasaranga as well. Those three We've seen it in recent times as well, that crazy chase against Australia. If Shanaka can pull something out, he's a great finisher on T20 cricket.
Yeah, but there's no form going in his favor. That's the problem. And law of averages, each time you toss a coin, it's 50-50, right? No point saying the last 5 times you've got head. There's no guarantee you'll get tail. It's 50-50 each time you toss it. So that's literally how it is here.
Yeah. And actually, more importantly, the boundary dimension just changed the game completely.
Yeah.
You need to be built like a Marcus Stoinis to actually just hit sixes.
Where you know that if I middle it, the size of the boundary doesn't matter. It's not the case for most people. Yeah.
Because even Maxwell,
just timing the ball here won't work.
Yeah, even Maxwell, I think the way he got out against Sri Lanka the last time, he hit it absolutely sweet and out of his
the Malinga Bandara catch. Yeah. After he just dropped one, he took a good one on the line.
And I think batters have to be skillful enough to target pockets.
Yeah.
That is
true.
Equally important.
So Williamson is doing Williamson things, 3 of 6, and Sri Lanka will enjoy the start. Oh, kind of a lousy throw from the deep. But 6-1, nevertheless. We're going to have lots of fun in this watch-along. We're going to be doing the cricket crossword, which is the first of its kind on CDC watch-along.
Shall we get started with it?
Yeah, we can get started with it. Sean, if you're listening, we can start with number 1 of the cricket crossword. And it's been, of course, thanks to Gautam, having the answer. So you know the answers?
I do.
Oh, come on, man.
But it is for our
But
viewers.
it's so much fun to guess it with you because yesterday you didn't know it.
It is for the viewers.
It's for the viewers mainly. And Vishan, who has know this thing. Right, so here we go. We'll start with 1 down. And we're not talking about Kane Williamson. Yeah. Fastest T20 international 100 for New Zealand. And there's about 10 questions. So let's get through it together and we can talk about it in greater depth. So that's the first clue. Fastest 100 for New Zealand. T20
Guys, can we have the crossword back again, please?
Yeah.
The first clue for our viewers is it's 1 down. Fastest T20 100 for New Zealand.
And that's an 8-letter name.
Yep, it's an 8-letter name.
Yeah, I have a decent guess for that one.
And guys, you don't have to give the answers right away because
you can comment below.
If you would reward someone who would get all the answers correct at the end of it when you've given out every clue.
Yeah, so we'll give you 2 clues to start with before we continue our little commentary stint here. The second clue is 2 down as well. Joint highest wicket taker in T20 internationals. Remember, the crossword that you're watching right now is just New Zealand and Sri Lanka players, essentially, right?
Yeah, I mean, more or less pertaining to this game.
More or less pertaining to this game.
That's the only hint apart from the clues that we're going to give you.
Yeah, so that's the big clue. So just think Sri Lanka, New Zealand names right now. And as you can see, we'll fill it out as we go along and it'll be great fun as well. Bishan's already kind of having to say, bowling! Jesus Christ, Dhananjaya De Silva. We see him in Test match cricket open the bowling for Sri Lanka on those pitches in goal, but this time in Sydney, they make it look like he could do us home.
My fantasy captain.
Fantasy captain, DDS, he's gone for it. Wow, he's literally played this 1 day early, Conway.
This is.
So you could play that shot better on OPL, to be fair. Come on. I mean, talk about hitting top of middle. And Dhananjaya De Silva, a very clever. We thought it was just going to be Teeksara, but honestly,
this
done, Shanaka. Bro, this group's going to go down the wire, man.
This is the most important point in the game. Even if we take all 40 overs, I'll tell you why. Because he was New Zealand's most adept player of spin.
Correct. And they just showed it also. They showed his strength.
And this getting him out early just brings Hasaranga into picture right away.
Yeah. Correct.
Because I mean, if at all, if he would have been a little concerned going to a left-hander, now he just has a host of righties to bowl.
Yeah, true. So essentially now Sri Lanka just 5 bowlers in this team, as in because 3 bowlers who can bowl spin, and then Rajitha and then Kumara. Or do you think there'll be Shanaka maybe bowling?
There is Karunaratne as well in this team, right?
Oh yeah, there's Karunaratne as well.
So that's the 6th bowler.
Who's been their enforcer as such.
And Sharaka as well, so 7 bowlers.
Sharaka hasn't bowled that much off late, but it's definitely an
he tends to only bowl himself when people have really gone for runs.
The thing with Sri Lanka is you can guarantee that at least one bowler will walk off the park without finishing his over. So they'll need Shanaka.
We're not jinxing it. We want all of them to be fit and firing, at least from a subcontinental perspective.
6 injuries.
Yeah. Quite ridiculous.
They've had more injuries in the number of games they've played.
Yeah, the hospital beds are quickly getting through. Introspect saying Esfeld and Allen has gone, New Zealand getting around 160. Bro, 160 is also a distance away right now.
Yep.
Oh, and it's all of a sudden We're not listening to it on commentary, of course, so we're not getting the typical Sri Lankan chat on the stop mic, be like, alama, and all of that. But
Amish is doing. So, guys, Shanak, you don't have to. So we'll hint you when you have to.
yeah, put the crossword out. I know you guys also excited with the viewers.
Wait on it.
Wait on it, guys.
Wait on it. We have
Not now.
We have
Not
40
now.
overs to show 10 clues. We don't have to rush.
And Glenn Phillips.
This is not a drinking game.
Glenn Phillips, like you mentioned, crucial man. First boundary of the day for New Zealand.
Yeah.
And it's a touch shot, so deserve to be put away. What a start from Sri Lanka. We talk about New Zealand being this ruthless clinical team beating like the lower teams. Sri Lanka is obviously not one of them.
No chance. I mean,
Dude.
like 5 years back, this was a contest which was significantly tilted towards Sri Lanka's favor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can't even call
The head-to-head in World T20s is 4-1 to Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Oh,
between
of
these
course.
two teams.
This is exactly what I was thinking early morning today. That everyone is like New Zealand are the favorites. Think about the history of this. This contest was always Sri Lanka's.
Yeah.
oh my God. But yeah, fantastic
And
start.
the overall head-to-head is also pretty close. I mean, I think it's 10-8 or something like that. The overall head-to-head between these teams.
Yeah.
So 3 up, 11 for 2. It's a very sticky start. Sri Lanka absolutely elated with both the openers back in the heart. And now the onus is on Captain Kane Williamson, who, of course, we heard from Michael Wagner, and we'll get on to him in the 10th over. And the public perception in New Zealand about Kane Williamson is different from the world view, where we think he's sometimes a liability in T20 cricket. How do you view him, Bish? Because I know how our man views him here. And it could be misunderstood at times.
I actually don't mind having a Kane Williamson type player in the
Is he
team.
the insurance policy?
He is the insurance policy.
Okay.
And as long as you have enough attacking players around you, you can afford to have one player like Williamson. In fact, it is like how we have Pujara and Test, because he's too slow for Test cricket as well.
Yeah.
But as long as you have guys like Kohli, Rohit,
Pant.
KL, Pant batting around him,
Yeah.
you can have one. You can have two Pujaras,
Yeah.
but you can have one. You can have one Williamson, but you can't have two in T20. So
Yeah.
I think it's okay to have him in a situation where, in this situation, you
right.
want Kane Williamson to be batting at 11 for 2, right? You don't want Finn Allen over here.
Do you think
So-
it's tailor-made for him right now, Kane Williamson?
At this point, yes. But my theory is if you have such player in your 11, he can't just be your batter.
Yeah.
He has to bring in more on the
Tactical
table.
leadership.
I mean, does it really matter in T20s? Maybe it is because none of the captains are
Exactly,
in form,
which is
and
my next point.
Yet, all of them are captains. So,
Out of all the captains going around apart from Rohit, who do you choose?
Choose
And
for what?
Balbani in terms of batters.
batter.
Bavuma, Finch,
Yeah.
Williamson. Not
Shanaka.
Shanaka is probably the only one, but he's out of form as well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
but
that-
No, I was adding Shanaka to your
Shanaka
list.
at least bowls.
Yeah.
He brings a lot to the table, and he's not an anchor.
But
So-
very often he does neither batting or bowling in many games.
it's seeming around there. The great chain 1-1
Yeah,
said
so
if it
right.
spins, it
The
swings.
issue with Avnish is before you can finish your point, he's like, "Ye ho gaya, ab batao."
So I just get carried away. Go on.
So the thing is, I mean, if I have a Williamson like player in my team, I would want him to not just be a batter, bring something more to the table. Basically, give the team the flexibility of actually not having to bat you compulsorily.
Yeah.
Like if you're 11 for 2, then you come in. Otherwise, if it's a solid start, you don't even have to. Come
Actually,
So
in.
defining
what you're
entry
saying-
points, maybe.
Is fair for someone like Babuma, I agree with you. But for someone like Williamson, who's like a proven match winner, I mean, not like he's scoring in the 200, sure, but multiple T20 innings where he's influenced the game significantly, I don't think it applies to him in this situation.
Yeah, but I mean, look at the last game. They were off to a flyer. At that point, did it make sense for him to walk in at 3?
I agree with you. But maybe he didn't have to then. Maybe Glenn
But then
Phillips could have walked
the
in at
point
3.
is the aura of such players is such that you can't just not have them bat at their position, right? I mean, usually there is no one around them who can actually ask them that, hey, maybe you don't have to go out to bat now.
Yeah, so tactically I agree with you. In that situation, it's not a Kane Williamson.
And what Australia did
position
with
to bat.
Smith, that was a big call. And Smith
Yeah.
was pretty much in the same ilk that Williamson is in
Yeah.
T20s as well. So,
Though he may well replace Finch now.
yeah. And it would be interesting if Kane, say, wasn't skipper of the side. I don't think New Zealand would have picked him, but maybe because he brings in that leadership role for so long and he knows the lads as well. Like, he marshals the troops well. But right now, like Bish said, it's a tailor-made one for him.
And this is where, I mean, the debate around Steve Smith. I mean, right now, I I've been listening to a lot of Australian journalists. They are of the opinion that Australia actually are missing a trick by not having Steve Smith in the 11.
Oh.
They're
And why is
comparing
that?
it, and they're comparing it with the.
Is it gone? Williamson's gone. For all the chat about Kane, it's pain for New Zealanders, and it's Kiwi
is it
absolute
really?
harakiri that they're committing out there. 15 for 3 after 4.
Almost think this is good for
I
New Zealand.
really want to ping our good friend Arya right now, who's a big Kiwi fan, just asking his opinion of this situation. Coming back to the point, now all of them are comparing what Kohli did to Pakistan, that Steve Smith can do something similar. I definitely don't agree with them at all.
Yeah.
And see, the argument makes sense in a way that on grounds like these, Steve Smith can actually target those pockets and run 2s and 3s. That's okay. But the point here is, can he actually do what Kohli did? Like, can he actually produce that Harris Roth kind of over? And I don't think so. And I don't think even Kane Williamson can do it.
Yeah, I agree with you. But because I don't think Kohli is a fair comparison. Kohli's had a bad patch of form, but Kohli has a T20 strike rate of 140 or something, 135, 138.
He's essentially the greatest trader of all time when it comes to T20 World Cup.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's a fact.
No, I love hearing it from your mouth, honestly. Because
has he reached the 1,000 mark? 1,000 runs, or he's going to get there in the next game, something like that. It's very, very
I think
close.
Jayawardene has the most runs in T20 World Cup, and then Kohli over to Gale the last time out.
Really, in T20 World Cup?
Yeah.
I would be very surprised if
Jayawardene
I would have thought
innings,
Kohli is the top.
1,032 runs, and he's played 6. That's why I was confirming with Ania Stats man, who's we've nicknamed Stats Swami. We'll get on in a bit. He was saying
Kohli's not played the first 3 World Cups.
Exactly, and Jayawardene played 6.
And at that time, there was a T20
World Cup every year.
Yeah.
I mean, every day I'm saying every year. 2007, 2009, 2010, 2011, 12, 14. So 14 was
11 minutes.
Oh, yo.
Looks like a wicket.
Sorry,
every
12
ball.
and 14. So yeah, I mean, Jayawardene has played 5 World Cups. Sri Lanka has done well in 3 of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's just the one guy ahead of Virat. Virat overtook Chris Gale the last time out. But look, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I just want to finish that entire topic about anchors. Like there are anchors, and then I don't think Steve Smith and Kane Williamson are even anchors.
Yeah.
In T20 cricket, what Finch does or what Warner does, they are anchors.
Yeah.
What Kane Williamson and Steve Smith are doing are just basically playing catch-up T20 cricket, which is not helping their side.
So someone like Josh Butler, we saw a couple of innings in the IPL last year.
He's not an anchor. He shouldn't be an anchor. England are suffering because he suddenly decided to be an anchor.
Yeah.
And they have David Mallar in the side to do it. I mean, why does Josh Butler have to be an anchor?
But if Josh Butler does it for 15 balls also, it's okay because you know he can turn those around very quickly.
Exactly. I mean, see, the point is, if Williamson is 6 or 15 balls, are you sure that he can't catch up?
Yeah.
He doesn't have the game for it.
Okay. So Mitchell, of course, getting his first ball of this World Cup. He's come in from Mark Chapman, who played spin really well. And I don't know if they've got that one wrong, but Mahesh Dixon has back on for his second over as well. Srivatsan going on to say another team expected to win is messing up. We can't predict this. Bisham went on to say New Zealand are winning by big. They might still well do, but
I mean,
what a start.
Bowling is New Zealand's stronger suit.
Yeah, but if they only have 140 to defend,
they could.
They could. I think
they could, but unlikely.
Sri Lanka's batsmen is not going to be like taking the game away. Come on, Sri Lanka, mess up the group 1 for all of us. We were discussing this. Damn, we should have done a live yesterday.
I think a part of this was the break New Zealand had between game 1 and now it's been a week or so.
Okay, let me ask you this: are you a Kiwi fan?
I do like.
Everyone likes them, but are you a fan?
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, because I think, to be honest, my assessment of New Zealand, you always knew what my assessment is. I just think Australia just had a bad day. They didn't prepare themselves for finale. That's the only thing. Apart from that, it has just made New Zealand look like this unbeatable side. They're not.
Yeah, fair.
But why do they give dubbed as a tournament team? I can't recollect a time where they actually did damn badly in an ICC event.
Because they do the basics all right. They don't drop catches. They don't bowl no balls.
Yeah.
They don't bowl back-to-back waist high full tosses.
Yeah. And sometimes you'd be amazed how those little fine things change the game.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think only Malan and Conway come around Kohli's category, starting off slow and then compensating it to death efficiently. Good point, Prateek. Anyone else you guys think of? He's mentioned good names there. Just to put you all on the spot.
There have been situations where even Gale has started slowly.
Yeah.
But he's not an anchor. But in my opinion, I think David Warner is the best T20 anchor batter that I've seen.
Do you think Faf is of that mold at times?
Faf is, you're right. Faf is also in that mold.
So that whole
In that mold, but not of the same level.
yeah, not the same level, definitely. Who wants to Australia? Australia don't have anyone. Imagine West Indies in the group 2 for Netherlands. It would have been more
I guess in a
fun.
way,
Yeah.
Rizwan,
I agree.
Rizwan and Babar are somewhat in that mold.
No. You think so?
They are in that, but they never catch up.
Yeah, it never becomes 170, 180, but they do
I've
finish
never-
at 130, 140, 150 quite often.
Yeah, true. But like I still agree with him a little bit. You just get
I see Babar and Rizwan finishing up with 120s more than 130.
Yeah, very often, you're right. But when they get a reasonable score,
yeah.
Let's check out the career strike rate. Or actually, we can
let's
ask
guess.
Anirudh.
Let's guess the career strike rate and see how close we are to it.
We can have Anirudh just giving up. Anirudh, what are the career strike rate of Babar, Rizwan, and Kohli?
Yeah.
T20 ice? Or
T20 ice.
T20
ice.
T20 ice, yeah.
My guess for Babar and Rizwan is 130, 130, and Kohli is
I think
138.
Kohli's
138
career
or
strike rate might even be 140 in T20 ice. He has been
is it 140?
T20s. He might have had a couple of off seasons.
It's there and thereabout. I'm saying 138 is my guess.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure Kohli is higher than Babar. And
No, that
Rizwan.
no doubt. No doubt either.
Okay, I'm gonna actually quickly use the cricket.com app to tell you guys this because Ani, if you're watching, tell us we're basically looking for Kohli, Babar, and Rizwan's career T20 international strike rates. So we're guessing. Bishan's guess 138. What are you guessing? I'm
not
guessing
guessing,
124 to be fair.
Kohli.
Not Kohli.
No,
For-
138 was my guess for Kohli.
For Kohli, I think it'll be 135.25 or something like that. Statsman Ani's on. Statsman Ani's on.
Nice. Well done, guys.
And we can get him here. By the way, Rajita bowling his third over, 1 for 11, using 24 for 3 after 5.2. Ani,
Yeah,
good
shoot
afternoon.
away.
Shoot away, my friend. Shoot away.
Yeah, you're on mute, but
You're on mute, son.
Sorry. Okay.
That's fine.
So
It's
Kohli
all-
has a strike rate of 138.5.
Sorry, say that again?
Kohli has a strike rate of 138.5 in his career, T20I career.
Not as close as you can get to it.
yeah.
And Babar has 129.3 and Rizwan has 127.1.
I said 130 for both.
Oh, what about Warner? Warner,
Warner, he has somewhere around 140, I guess. Warner.
Conway? Because of Conway.
141.7.
size,
Yeah.
you can't compare.
He has a strike rate of 141.7.
What about Malan and Warner?
What is Warner?
141.7.
And David Malan?
Mal-
David Malan?
Malan.
Malan starts too slow though. He's not like
Malan has 135.6 because
Great.
in his initial career, initial stages of his career, he had a very good strike rate because of his hundred and quick fire 50s in New Zealand. He started with a very good strike rate, but then it became like he was much more like Kohli, who starts his innings slow and tries to catch up, but he'll be somewhere around 170s even if he bats out all the 60 ball, maybe even if he bats around 50 balls.
Cool. Thanks, Ani. Thanks for those numbers.
Thank you.
And Sumesh, another thing which I just wanted to say, like when you were saying about Steve Smith and all those guys, so in this World Cup, Kohli in his first 20 balls has a strike rate of 72.5, and he hasn't scored a boundary in his first 20 balls. And
Okay.
in the balls range between 21 to 55, he has a strike rate of 201.8, where he hits
Yeah,
a
but
boundary every 3.8 balls.
No, but I'm pretty sure even if you look at Steve Smith's career, if you look at his strike rate, balls 20 to 50, it won't be above 150.
No, but he's
Yeah.
talking about this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So my point with Steve Smith is you can't just compare him directly with Kohli just because he's a better test player, right?
Yeah.
Kohli has that shots to catch up in T20 cricket.
Yeah.
Steve Smith and Kevin Williamson do not.
Fair.
They don't have that attacking game.
Last ball of the power play, 24 for 3, and it'll stay that way. So Sri, oh, sorry,
25
not
for
a
three,
big
but-
25, sorry,
But-
a slight misfield. But thanks, Statsman Ani, for
What
those
a
little
power
numbers.
play
What
for
a
Sri
power
Lanka. Sri
play.
Lanka could not have asked for a better start.
Is this the lowest power
That's-
play score in the World Cup so far?
That's incredible.
Potentially.
Maybe, yeah.
We should have just asked him that to finish it
Anirudh,
off.
maybe you can just give us as a comment
In
now.
the comment,
we
in the
won't
comment.
disturb you again. But is this the lowest power play score in this World Cup?
Including the qualifiers. Because obviously, like, I don't think because of the rain, there's been so many games, but I think the teams are just happy that there's no rain, dude. It's just a fight off.
And apparently there's no forecast either, like, because the next Melbourne game is
Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe. Until then, there will be no rain.
But they're saying Brisbane might be
But
unfortunate.
there are hardly any games in Brisbane.
But crucial
There is
games.
one big one. There is a New Zealand England
That's
at
the
the Gabba.
Gabba.
That's on Tuesday.
Oh.
If it gets washes out, then
No, I actually checked weather for that specific game. On that day, Gabba's rain forecast for the first 2/3 of the day. But this is a night game. It's a 6 p.m. start.
Man, England will just be like our own weather is biting us in the backside. English weather in Australia as well. I think Peterson put out a tweet about the weather. Srivatsan going on to say Rizwan and Babar is probably the worst opening pair for the T20. They have to sacrifice someone.
No, they have no other batting left. They can't sacrifice either of them. Those are the two guys who score all their runs for them.
Who else can open for Pakistan? I know Shan Masood has also been like sedate.
Yeah.
Kapil Zaman had that injury.
Yeah, you want Asif Ali to open? Asif Ali can open. I mean,
Yeah, but
because,
it's so strange because
I think
India have so many, and across the border they don't have any.
so. This is because they have the pacers, right? That's how they're built.
And that's how it's always
That's how their
been.
system built.
Yeah.
I mean, Lahore Qalandars, they have a fast bowling academy.
Who are those Kalanda's pacers? Shaheen and
Haris Rauf.
both. They have both.
Yeah.
Holy hell!
They basically their scouts identified Haris Rauf,
Wow.
no, wasn't Haris Rauf identified by the Big Bash scouts?
but it was something to do with Lahore Qalandars.
Oh, is it?
Obviously, I mean,
Our PSL knowledge is a little dodgy, but we can ask Shub when he comes on, who's a big PSL fan. If
maybe someone can Google and give us the detail, but it is somewhat related.
introspect is introspecting here, so you can't compare Kohli Warner with the likes of Williamson, Smith, Rizwan Babar. We were just doing that to just show you the difference between those two and the four that you mentioned there. Brave shot by Mitchell to sweep Hasaranga, reverse sweep rather. And dude, it's such a comfortable thought for Sri Lanka to bring in Hasaranga when already the opposition are against the wall. So
Yeah, it is, but I think they still need to get Phillips.
So
See,
Phillips holds the key.
Sri Lanka cannot do the errors. I mean, error is a very harsh word.
Yeah.
But if you remember India's game against Pakistan, we could have had Pakistan at least 30 runs short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we allowed, I mean, India allowed them to score 160. And I think Sri Lanka should not commit that mistake. They actually they're in a position where they can actually stop New Zealand to below 130. And that is how it should be. We've seen Zimbabwe defending 130.
Yeah.
New Zealand obviously have a better bowling attack there. Okay, I can't say obviously. Can on their day can have a equally good bowling attack as Zimbabwe. So
Now we've gone to the other
But
extreme.
1 second, guys, just think about it. So he keeps saying Phillips is a key, which I completely agree. Mitchell's with him, and they have Nisham and Santner to come.
yeah, but
And then, okay, fine, Saudi can bat, and people say, like, Saudi, Ferguson, and Bolt can, like, bat.
if a wicket falls now, I would promote Santner over.
Has it fallen? Has it fallen? Oh, he's put it down!
Same guy, Malika
Oh, my
Bandara.
God.
Was it
So
Malika or
you were
Malika Bandara?
absolutely bang
Sri
on.
Lanka.
Nearly. Straight
And
down,
how many
long
catches have
walks,
gone down
dude.
of Asanga's bowling in this World Cup?
Man. This was perfect for Phillips, and that could cost New Zealand. I mean,
And
Sri
that
Lanka.
was straight down his throat. As easy
As
as
easy
they
as
come.
they come, yeah.
Oh my good grief. And it's Peyton Nisanka out of all people.
But if a wicket actually falls now, I would send Santner above Nation.
Yeah, that's a good call. That is
Needed Deepak Huda to be there. What was that catch he took the other day, man?
So Murli Vijay vibes. Of
Yeah,
Indian
yeah,
Para
yeah.
vibes.
Anil was going on to say
The
UAE
most-
were 23 for 4 against Sri Lanka in the qualifiers. So this total of 25 for 3 is second in this tournament. So Sri Lanka doing magical things in the power play with the ball in hand.
Yeah, and Tiksena is.
And Neymar not happy with the catch being drawn. You guys know. What is the
Remember-
lowest total defended in the SCG? Ani, another one from you from Introspect. We'll have that for you, Introspect, in just a bit. Go on, so.
No, I was just saying, Hasaranga reminds me of our designer Ratish.
Yeah, the canny resemblance of good old rats. But yeah, all you guys watching, subscribe, of course. Ask us any questions because we're willing to talk about cricket, the World Cup, the rain, or the lack of it rather today, and lots more.
They're open to talk about anything except KL Rahul. Please. Enough about it.
We haven't heard Bishes. We just got a cheeky compliment. Bish.
let's hear it.
Vikram Rathore has already confirmed that they are not going to make any changes.
Yeah.
So let's just get on with it.
Oh, God. We obviously, KL should come out firing all guns blazing to shut all us up, but who
Are
knows?
you guys on the same page? Do
Which
you
is-
both want KL or not want KL?
We like
I want
didn't-
KL for at least the South Africa game and then
Fair.
decide after that.
And you?
I'm Bangalore guys. I want KL, but dude, like we've given him such a long rope. Rhodes backed him time and time and again. I think KL and Pant can really have a tiff off. They can have a tiff off, but there's lots of people in our office who have just been.
No, but
at
I want him to get one more game. But if he doesn't perform against South Africa, then I want India to relook.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I want KL to play one more game at least as well. Because while he's failed a couple of times, one was an inconsequential failure, the last one. I would say only one failure really. And he done well the previous, to play in the mold we wanted him to. He done that for a short while. So he deserves something.
But pretty Sydney night sky.
It's beautiful. It's a fucking bloody Windows background paper. Oh, he's got 4. Is he? He has.
Lahiro Kumara had a
Man, I don't want that across Sri Lanka. This bloody long off drop that we just saw, because they would have been in cuckoo land. In respect, we're getting that stat out for you. Honestly, just hold on. 149. There you go. 149 is the lowest defended in Sydney. But maybe the Sixers.
But I'm pretty
sure.
This
is T20 international. Sorry.
I think if New Zealand can get to 149, they'll be able to defend it.
Ani, just go on in that. Maybe tell us Sydney in T20s generally. I just want to know.
I think Sydney has, of the Aussie grounds in this World Cup, the lowest first inning score generally.
Yeah.
But also it has oddly the top 2 or 3 T20I scores in Australia.
Yeah, and also New Zealand, that Phil Allen game, they scored 200 at Sydney.
Yeah.
I think Srivatsan's question around which is helping spin.
In respect, if you have any other questions, fire away to Ani or us. We will be at you right back. Yeah, you want to take this?
Yeah, Shivatsan, I don't think pitches are favoring spin. It's just Sydney, because even in India's last game, both Akshar and Ashwin were among the wickets when India played at Sydney. So it's just Sydney which has been helping, providing some assistance to spin. But having said that, I think Sri Lankan spinner, especially Theeksana, has enough quality to be a handful at every venue.
Bro, he's taking the new Kookaburra and he's making it turn, honestly, from right to left.
And that Finn Allen wicket was an in-swinger, so let's not call him a spinner.
Yeah. Because he was actually meaning it to turn the other way.
Yeah.
Right?
It was a carom ball.
Yeah, it was carom ball. But from that convoy ball, you know that the pitch is holding up a lot.
Yeah.
Because he played that ball so early. He also, I think, was forcing himself to play with the spin, which I think sometimes
batsmen get obsessed with. Have New Zealand missed the trick by potentially dropping a spinner for a...
You know who those are, by the way? Cricket.com's good old friend Russell Arnold and his kids. I'm not even joking. Because
there was no Russell Arnold standing there.
No, but Russell Arnold's in the commentary box, so that's why they showed that. And he's obviously based out of Sydney as well, Russell Arnold. So he's got the fam in. He must be jumping with joy in the commentary box over there. Take this from Jagmeet Singh, Oberoi, Som and Bish. Is Theeksana the new Ajanta Mendes?
Theeksana is the new Theeksana.
Theeksana will hope he is not the new Ajanta Mendes, because it means his career is over in 1 year.
How did that guy's career just kept...
no ball. Lahiru, Sri Lanka need him to have a day like the day he had against Australia that day. But that was Perth and this is Sydney.
Yeah.
So 2 very different wickets.
Ajanta.
I think Ajanta is Theeksana's mentor.
And there is a big similarity in the way they bowl, no doubt.
Yeah.
But Mendes just got found out. I think for 2 years he was taking 4 wickets, 5 wicket hauls for fun.
His carom ball had that finger up and everyone was zoomed in on it. Theeksana has
little bit more
up his sleeve.
When was Ajanta Mendes' last game in Sri Lanka shirt? Like 4 or 5 years ago? Free hit. I keep getting excited.
Free
hit. And the drop down also. Wow.
Get the drop out of the way.
Will that be counted in their drop counts as efficiency stats? No, right?
Where do you guys stand on that argument? That if on a free hit, if a batter is out, at least those runs should not be counted. Like Kohli was bowled that day, and if this would have been caught.
Yeah, but if he's like leaving it, like how we've seen in one crazy game,
ideally,
the batsman have run.
Yeah, leaving is very weird, because if you generally leave in Test cricket, it's a dead ball. You can't run after leaving. You can run after ducking because that's how you plan to play it.
Correct. Yeah.
But leaving is not playing
because you're not offering a shot.
But yeah, no, I'm with you. And not just off the free hit ball. I think generally in cricket, you cannot be getting runs of inside edges. Those cannot count in your favor. This becomes very subjective, of course.
But ultimately, it's coming off the bat.
Yeah, but you have to only get runs where you have beaten the bowler.
Correct.
The bowler can't win and you profit. In my mind, that's just not how sport works.
Yeah. So right. So rephrasing it.
Yeah.
You have of the opinion that off a free hit ball, if a batter is out, let's say caught,
the ball should be dead.
Yeah, the ball should be dead and should not count as runs.
Yeah.
I agree.
Because the bowler has won, the batsman has lost that ball, but the batsman is still getting runs.
See, a batter getting free hit is anyway like
advantage.
an over advantage
Yeah.
which was not really needed, but now it's been given. It's like that remedy.
Yeah.
Modi ji keeps referring to it. It has been given, now it cannot be taken back. I don't think anyone would ever allow that free hit to go away.
Yeah.
People are actually advocating having free hits in Test cricket, so let alone taking it away from white ball cricket.
But that again comes back to bowlers being obviously overstepping the mark or bowling a waste type thing. So they have to pay the penalty.
But they are paying a penalty through a free hit. The batter cannot be out. That itself is a very big deal.
Yeah.
But then you're just giving them runs even when they're bowled or when they're caught in the deep. That rule should be changed.
But the way the batsman gets out in a free hit, they are out of stump. So it doesn't that equal it out or no?
No, but he's talking about the 3 runs that Kohli got.
See, the thing is, firstly, I'd have to check. I don't think a batter can be out stumped on a free hit.
No, stumped he cannot be. Only run out.
And run out is also technicality because they will keep running and they'll just train for this. And people like Kohli will run 12 runs. Otherwise, if there was a pause there, they wouldn't have given even run out.
Yeah, maybe. Sachin Mondal, thanks for getting interactive in the comments. Nice to see you. Who's going to reign supreme in this group? We can't call it even if we had to. But if you had to be a brave man to stick your neck on the chopping block, who would it be?
Looking at the
And you as well.
fixtures, I think Australia will top the group.
Because they have the 2 minnows.
2 minnows and they can actually better than run rate and reach 7.
And more importantly, they're playing in venues without no rain whatsoever.
Yeah.
Brisbane, I think Adelaide as well.
Hmm.
I think it's rain. Don't say that, Sachin, please.
Rain will top the group. Yeah.
Maybe say that.
Rain has already won 2 games?
Yeah. England.
3 games in this group.
Will that defeat against Ireland hurt them? And not to forget yesterday's draw.
I think New Zealand will first win this game.
Okay.
And then top the group because they've beaten Australia already.
Yeah.
Right. And I think they will still win this game.
Okay.
I mean, big call from here, I guess.
Yeah, you think that drop is gonna hurt?
Yeah.
So New Zealand still have what? Sri Lanka? Sorry, not Sri Lanka. England and Ireland.
England and Ireland, yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be thick. Sorry, Vish, go on.
No. Because then it doesn't matter because they already have 3 points in their bag.
Yeah.
And they have another 3 games to play. They could easily be at 9.
9. And Sri Lanka could very well end up at 8. You never know. And what's your gut feel? Australia and one more team.
See, Australia is the logical bet.
I think logical bet is New Zealand. They're already.
No, but because considering where they are placed in this game.
See, I
have lost a point
I
of
actually feel
Afghanistan.
New Zealand it'll be 50-50 game even if New Zealand did 130.
Yeah, which is why I'm saying that they
And
could
that is why I think New
Now you
Zealand
say
is
130. Anira's got vital stats in the comments. In the lowest total defender in all T20s at the SCGs, 135 for 7 by Perth Scorchers against Sydney Sixers in the 2014-15 season.
Yeah, but Perth Scorchers bowling attack is like New Zealand.
History counts for nothing at times. Oh, bowling. Brilliant bowling.
But who is a better batting attack? Okay, Sri Lanka or Sydney Sixers? This is Sydney Sixers of
2014. So they had the Moises and Reeks. And
Morgan played for them in 15.
Smith would have played as well, I would think.
Played.
Yeah.
I think Young
Would have been a decent batting lineup.
it would have.
A more attacking batting lineup.
When was Anderson playing for them?
Cricket.com app, one-stop destination to know all things cricket.
You need to have that like Statman Ani type thing. You need to have for the app.
Guys,
as
can you
well.
pull in Samir Alana's comment? He mentioned something about Sri Lanka's catch efficiency.
Yes. Which we also put on Instagram, so follow us.
Yep.
Sri Lanka had the lowest catching efficiency of 74.2 before the T20 World Cup amongst the top 10 teams. Who was second? Beloved India.
So Sri Lanka, actually, the catching is hurting them. And I really feel the difference. See, we've gotten back to the older era where the difference in the fielding standards of the Asian sides and the other teams were stark. And it's we've come back to that era again.
Yeah.
India, even that game, I mean, obviously, Ashwin is our hero by leaving that and all. But I mean, as better fielder would have taken that catch of Shan Masood.
Yeah, for sure.
Of Shan Masood. Which was the catch? What did I
At
say?
fine line.
Right. Yeah.
Of Shami.
Yeah.
Where it was like
Correct.
touch and go sort of thing.
Yeah.
Cotton Bolt was a difficult chance.
But even some of the crucial wins we've seen in this World Cup has come down to ground fielding and catching. In Zimbabwe were fantastic in the field.
Yeah.
If Irvine didn't kind of get that back into the rope, that could have this thing. I mean, even
And the sensible throw at the end.
yeah,
to the keeper's end.
Yeah.
Because you saw who was the non-striker, Mohammad Wasim, had taken a head start of about that much to hell with Munkad. He was down the pitch, halfway down the pitch. He was not getting run out at the bowler's end.
Even the religious supporter of Spirit of Cricket would have been shut that day. Like, isko kaise support kare? Ye to beech mein khada hai, beech mein hai.
Okay, guys, let's put out some names of that Sydney Sixers talk that we're having. Brad Haddon as their captain.
Not bad.
Okay. Then they had people like Moises and Beeks, like we mentioned, Michael
RCB
Long,
guy.
Nick Madison, Jordan Silk, Stevie Smith, Dwayne Smith, good old West Indian man. They had Stark also as well. And they had a bunch of good bowlers. Hastings, Berendorf, Krupsman, Yasser Rafat.
The Palestinian guy.
Yeah.
That's definitely a better batting lineup than Sri Lanka's lineup today.
So this is a man that you call correctly Bish. The fact that they will be introducing him at some point in time, Chamika Karatne. Didn't get a game sitting on the KKR bench, but definitely rubbed shoulders with some of the guys there. Sachin Mandal saying if Sri Lanka can bat well and their pacers assist their spinners, they will top this group. But the too many ifs there. Bat well, pacers,
and you have to mention
spinners.
if they field well as well, because the amount of catches that Sri Lanka have dropped. I mean, the number of catches that Sri Lanka have dropped off Hasaranga would be higher than any other non-Asian team. The total catch drop by
Can we have that stat, Ani, if you can? Number of catches.
And he's really
having a field day today.
Oh God!
In the first group, there's actually a chance Zimbabwe can qualify.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think now
India to play like Devil's advocate obviously.
Unless of course KL Rahul just spanks them.
But I'm saying they lose to India. They've already got a random point at the South Africa match. Like they've beaten Pakistan. Yeah. They can easily beat Netherlands and who's it? Bangladesh. They can easily beat, which then leaves only the South Africa-India match for them, which they can lose. If India beat South Africa
and
by a reasonable margin,
Pakistan beats South Africa.
I think that is the fixture. Pakistan, South Africa. That is going to make a break group.
But that is the picture of South Africa now, more so than Pakistan.
Yeah.
But Pakistan, they still can make it, but they need results to go their way and win their game.
The issue with Pakistan is, I mean, a team that struggled to chase 130 can't catch up on net early.
That is true.
So that is the biggest issue, right?
And the other two teams are well ahead. South Africa's at 5 or something. And India's at 1.5 or 2.
And I mean, you can't just expect Babar and Rizwan to just change their approach in the middle of the
tournament. Who's Pakistan's most explosive batsman in the top order in the T20 history? If you have to put
T20 history.
Yeah, like I'm just thinking of names that all studied. I mean,
Imran Nazir.
Yeah, Imran Nazir is a great shot.
Shahid
Bhai Afridi was on 5 and 6.
He was gone, dude, then.
Oh my God. How much was he on at the time?
Screwed up. I don't know, maybe he's hit a 4 and a 6 after that, so.
Oh, good.
At least
15, 16. Yeah. And guys, we have a very big surprise for you. We have to guess who will be joining us shortly.
Yeah, hopefully in the next over. What is the night already right now? We'll give you a clue. This man has basically got players like Devin Conway, Finn Allen, Ratan Ravindra, Michael Bracewell, if you want, you can throw him in there as well. And he's honed all of their skills. Khada kiya, launch kiya, sabko.
Pala posa.
If you guys know, you know. So yeah, we'll get that man who we're talking about in just a bit. Oh, how was that? Oh, is it missing leg? Oh, it could be another chance here as well. And they've squandered their
Right now, we have a good friend, Michael Wagner, who's joining all.
It's good to get a Kiwi on when the Kiwis are committing Harakiri, like I said over there. 54 for 310 overs. Michael, if you can make your presence felt. Sean, if you can add Mr. Wagner on, it'll be fantastic to get his thoughts, because I know it's already closing to 10 in the night in Auckland, but he must not be having a good time. Michael, how are we this evening? Surprised?
Not quite as well as I was watching us play Australia. This is not nearly as enjoyable.
I mean, did you see it coming? I mean, we were all predicting Finn Allen to, of course, face up Mahesh Theeksana, and then what ensued. But just overall, the power play, the second lowest power play in this year's World Cup, you wouldn't really fathom that thought, would you?
Look, I think you've got to look at this. There is some really smart bowling by Sri Lanka. And the result of that is New Zealand have given them they've given them the credit the deliveries deserve. Yeah, it's really interesting. All of the odd overs have been bowled by spinners. all of the even overs have been bowled by pace. There's never been 2 overs of spin in a row or 2 overs of pace in a row. There's some really clever things that Sri Lanka's doing, and you've got to say, well done. You know, it's good bowling. I think there's been a couple of the fielding's been a bit poor, but yeah, the bowling's just been outstanding.
Yep, and they are the Asian champions after all. So yeah, living up to their reputation.
Michael, I was asking these boys right now in the pre-match the fact that New Zealand, Sri Lanka, everyone's saying New Zealand start favourites, and they might do in this World Cup. But look at World Cup history, and it tells us a completely different tale.
Yeah, but Sri Lanka aren't the team that they were when they had Murali, Jayasuriya, Jayawardene and Sangakkara. They're not that team anymore. They're still a very good team, but they're not. They're not a very good team. They're an erratic team. They're a team that's capable of putting in big performances, but they don't do it very often. But they've got the ability to be able to put 3 or 4 together, and that's all you need to win a World Cup. You know, if you can get close enough and then put 3 or 4 good performances, you can win the cup. They're good enough to do that, but you wouldn't back them to do it too often.
Okay, we've seen how Sri Lanka's fielding has already cost them so far. Not just dropping the free hit, but more importantly, dropping Glenn Phillips in long off, which is an absolute straight down the gob, but he's let it go. Will that cost them? And how happy were you as a Kiwi fan that chance went begging?
Oh, look, I mean, when I'm trying to do analysis, I try to put off my New Zealand hat, but it was very hard not to smile at that point because it was, a big moment. Getting Jimmy Neesham in that early, that means he can't play his natural game. Phillips is so good once he gets going. He's a guy that can take the game away, completely take the game away from an opposition team. So he's a massive wicket. You've seen him playing, particularly in the Caribbean, and just watching him on these sort of pitches, just ripping teams apart. That he's very much a danger man on this sort of track. And that was a big drop, I think.
Talk to me about that one solitary change that New Zealand made. Of course, even Sri Lanka did the same, but New Zealand dropping Mark Chapman for Daryl Mitchell. We've spoken about the exploits of spin that Chapman has had so far in his relatively short T20 career. Do you think they missed a trick there, or do you think they're still backing the guys out there in the middle?
Look, I would have probably stuck with Chapman, but I could totally understand why they went with Mitchell. Mitchell has been a big performer on the big stage, and he's in a good run of form. So you go, this is a guy that's twice been the top run scorer in the New Zealand domestic T20 competition. He's also got the ability to come in as a death bowler. So, he's a good option. But I would have probably gone with Chapman. As part of it's my bias. I'm an Aucklander. I watch Auckland play more than I watch any other team. Chapman plays for Auckland, so I've seen him play a lot more. And I've seen him do some amazing things. He's a wonderful cricketer. So I would like to see him playing. But I can understand why they went with Mitchell. He's a very good, solid player. And if they were expecting that the pitch was going to be a bit difficult, he's more of a pure batsman rather than a hitter. So, if they were expecting that this is what the pitch was going to play like, then putting in an extra batsman makes sense.
Yeah. Michael, this is Bishan. We were discussing this earlier here about what the role of Kane Williamson in the team is. And as neutrals, we don't think he adds as much value to the team as some of the others possibly could. As a New Zealander, tell us what you think about Kane Williamson in this team. What is his role? Is he adding enough value?
Yeah, look, Gary Stead as a coach has always liked to have at least one player in who works the ball around and provides a platform for the hitters. And so the idea is, if you think about it this way, the average score in a T10 is about 85, right? So if you can have Phillips and if you can have Conway and Williamson basically going at 7 and over from one end, taking care of one end of 10 overs, and then giving the rest of the guys the license to play like T10 cricket, if you can get 70 and then another 85, well, you've now got a reasonable score, and then the room for, and that's with an average performance, the room for a really good performance, like some Nisham coming off, suddenly you're going to be hitting big scores more often. I think that's the theory behind it. I'm not sure I agree with it, but I can understand that that's the idea, that you get these guys to allow a platform for the others, and so that you want to have a few pure batsmen in the team and then hitters around them. Personally, I don't know that there's. I think that Conway does that job well enough that we don't need Williamson, except maybe as an insurance policy, and I think it's negative going in with both of them unless they're going to change how they play. But I can see why the coach goes that way. But I find it a bit frustrating. I'd like to see a bit more hitters in there. I think Mark Chapman would probably offer more batting at 3 than or move Phillips up to 3, Chapman in at 4, and Mitchell at 5. Would offer a better balance than Williamson, but he's the captain, so you can't drop him, really.
Okay, let's get another Kiwi on to see if he concurs with you. And it's a familiar face that we're all used to. The man who's coached New Zealand before, maybe just the one series, but nevertheless, we'll get him on right now. We're talking about Glenn Pocknell, who joins us. And we have one man from Auckland, like you said, but a man who knows Wellington quite well, and Conway and Allen and all of them. Glenn, first and foremost, welcome to the CDC Watchalong. How are we feeling? It's 63 for 3, may I ask?
Yeah, it's better than when we were at 20-odd for 3, and Phillips got kind of deep. But, it's been a challenging start for the Black Caps, and full credit to how Sri Lanka have come out and bowled so well to us early on. So it was, good for them to see them bowl so well. But on the other side, very anxious time as a New Zealand fan.
We're putting out stats throughout the course of this watch along, Glenn, and we were talking about some of the lowest scores defended in Sydney, not just in T20 internationals, but across T20s, and 135 is the number. How much would you take right now, given this setback that New Zealand have, and they're recovering? So what would you take, given New Zealand's pedigree with the ball in hand?
Oh, it's hard to say. It looked very challenging early on, in the fact that New Zealand didn't quite assess the conditions as well as they probably would have liked to. Hence, they lost those 3 wickets by probably just playing too a little bit aggressively with some of the shot making. The ball wasn't necessarily spinning a lot, but they were changing their pace nicely, the spinners, and the seamers certainly got a bit of pace and a bit of swing with that new ball. So from here on, look, if we can get to 145, 150, we'll be doing well. At least this gives us something to bowl to. And at the end of the day, the Sri Lankan team's still got to have to chase that, and we've shown with our experienced bowling lineup and 2 world-class spinners that we can defend 145 if we can get to that.
It seems already a tight group. I'll get Somesh in here right now, who's eager to pick your mind about various things. What's the first thing you have to learn?
Glenn, so of course, Conway would have faced Theeksana a lot of times in the CSK nets. So how much that helps coming into such a big equation? Does it count for something, or is Theeksana a very difficult bowler to actually read a lot even after facing him in the nets?
Yeah, well, he clearly done one over with him with that delivery, because you're right, he's faced him a huge amount of time, with the Super Kings, and would have studied all his deliveries on video analysis, but he's just totally beaten him in flight. And as you guys would have seen, Conway's not normally the one to take the aggressive option early on, and I would imagine it was an error in judgment. He thought the ball was a little bit fuller and he could access cover, but the ball just dropped and was a little bit slower, and completely deceived him, which was, frustrating from a New Zealand fan's perspective, but outstanding to see a really world-class piece of bowling up against, the number 2 batsman in the world. So, it'll be interesting to see what comes of that and see what Devon felt about that delivery, but I feel just from watching it, he got completely deceived by the pace of the delivery, and then the length wasn't there for him to hit.
Yeah, when we talk about Finn Allen, lots of credit must be given people like you for kind of helping him put on that roadmap so fast in New Zealand cricket. What's the thinking with Finn Allen, of course, replacing a gun player like Martin Guptill? Was that a decision made already 1 month before the tournament started. We know that Finn Allen played his first T20 in that opener and he did really well. Do you think this lad could now take the world by storm despite his failure today?
Yeah, it's probably been a year in the making, I think. And it's always been a very hard one for the New Zealand selectors, I would imagine, because they've effectively replaced him with one of New Zealand's best 2020 players ever in Martin Guptill. So it was always going to be a very gutsy call and a very hard call. I think they have made right the call, as much as Guptill was still a very fine player. Allen showed the other night against Australia he can single-handedly win a game for New Zealand. So you take your chances with that. It didn't happen tonight, but it may happen in the next round, or it may happen in the next round after that. So you've got to be prepared as a fan, as a supporter, to take the good with the bad with him a little bit. He's going to have the odd time where he doesn't set the world light like tonight, but he is also going to win your game. So he's shown in that one innings that his skill is unbelievable, and he will do that more often than not and take the world by storm, I believe.
Glenn, could I ask you a question here? I coached in Auckland school cricket and came up against Finn Allen quite a bit. He destroyed us a couple of times, but he was always a slow starter. And then he comes and he played for Auckland. He was a slow starter as well. And then you get hold of him and he suddenly starts scoring from ball one. What was the key there?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I guess because I never knew him as a schoolboy, so my first interactions were dealing with him over COVID, over the phone, and finding out a little bit about him as a person more than anything, but also finding out what type of cricketer he wants to be. And it probably wasn't more till he got to Wellington where we got a little bit more in depth around that. And he said he just wanted to be a batsman that scored from ball one and hit fours and sixes. So at the time, it was kind of music to our ears because that was a style of play that we wanted to play in terms of our 2020 cricket. And then from there, myself and Michael Bracewell, who you would know who's in the Black Caps squad at the moment, we really wanted to get Finn in the team because we'd seen how explosive he was in the nets, playing with that fearlessness and playing with that, I guess, freedom just to go out and hit fours and sixes from ball one. And we thought, the best place would be the top of the order because there's potentially less risk with more fielders up in the ring. So we took a punt with that, and we gave him that freedom to, go out and try and hit every ball for four if you believe it's in your zone. And the first game was against Auckland, and he got 50 odd off 25 balls, and the rest was really history after that because he did so well and was able to do that, I guess. So that just gave him the confidence more than anything that, he can play his cricket that way, which was, a hell of a springboard for him, really, because he's gone on to so much since that one innings. So it was pretty pleasing to see.
We'll take one from the comments now, and this is for both Glenn and, of course, Michael. Some more information about Glenn Phillips, Vasant goes on to say about his character, the batsman, the fielder that he is. Please do educate us about Glenn Phillips as a package because...
Yeah, he's actually the most all-round cricketer going around. I mean, him and Liam Livingstone, it's just those two who can literally do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess there's not many guys that are batsmen, bowlers, and keepers. And you can field anywhere. So I mean, there's obviously something. He's quite a look. I don't know him very well. I've got to say, from my perspective, I've sort of only. But he seems like a guy that's interested in everything. He was the times I've seen him, he's just keen to learn about anything that's going on. So I think. You can possibly see that in the way that he changes his game. That times that he comes out fours and sixes, and times that he's really just focused on twos and threes and running hard between the wickets. We just saw him turn what should have been one into two just now, and that sort of thing. That element to his game is just a bit different to what some of the other big hitters have.
Yeah, I guess to add to that a little bit from character point of view or personal point of view, 100% right there. He's really good at everything. He's actually one of New Zealand's best archery. I don't know what the term is, but archery where you shoot the arrows. He's whatever he does, he kind of takes to like a duck does to water. And I understand he's recently taken up surfing as well, which is one of his pastimes, and evidently he's pretty good at that. So I think he's just very natural in everything he does. He obviously works very hard as well, but very, very talented as an athlete. He's probably got one of the best physiques in the Black Caps. There was a rumor going around a few years ago during one of the COVID lockdowns that he was doing 500 press-ups a day, just for a bit of fun and a few giggles. So I think he's just loves being active and loves trying new things.
Yeah, I think on social media as well. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he entered one of the games while the John Cena WWE music was going on.
He still has it,
and he still has it.
Yeah.
And then of course he hit a 6 in that try series, and then he went after looking at the child to see if that child was honestly not hurt by a 6. So not many batsmen do that, but clearly he's coming to the party right now. He's playing catch-up cricket as such. So, but talk to me about what Dylan Phillips can do right now.
I mean, that drop is
definitely
has hurt Sri Lanka. And
they put another one down. And Glenn, I would love to pick your mind about this because you've been a fielding coach, of course. What is the key in Australia, especially to catch and field right? Because Sri Lanka are doing all the things opposite by the looks of things.
Yeah, and it's a tough one because I was talking to another domestic coach in New Zealand a few weeks ago around the fielding at lights and the different challenge that brings. And I would imagine it'd be similar for these international teams where they probably don't get a huge opportunity to practice under lights, and it's totally different to practicing or playing in the daylight. So with the lights, you've effectively got I don't know how many light towers there are at the SCG, but let's say there's 8 light towers. You're effectively playing with 8 suns, and that's the effect it has. Wherever you look, there's a light shining in your eye, so that has a huge effect on your vision. The sight, both your peripheral vision and your frontal vision. So I'd suspect that's not an excuse for these guys. So they should be. You would hope have had these conversations prior, but that can play a factor, and then it also becomes a mental factor as well because you start believing in the lights and believing in them being a factor, and then it becomes a bit of a mental issue as well. Which it actually, to be honest, it looks a little bit like that tonight with the Sri Lankan performance, just not with the catches drop, but a lot of fumbles. They've got the skills. I've seen them doing a lot of training, and they've certainly got the skills, but they look like they're a little bit tentative in the field with their ground fielding and catching.
Yeah, almost as if it's a bar of soap for them, not the ball. Glenn, actually, are we moving back into that era where the fielding standard between the Asian sides and the other team is stark? Earlier, a decade or so ago, the difference was negligible. Every Asian side, at least India and Sri Lanka, were fielding equally good. But we've seen in this World Cup and this year overall, India have also not been fielding well, and so is Sri Lanka.
Yeah, as I said, I reckon it's really a combination of the skill aspect and the mental aspect. Like, I know, as you say, 10 years ago, they were a lot lower than they were before, and that was probably back then it was due to facilities and resource. Whereas I know now these international teams, wherever they're training, they do have grass facilities, and most of them have got fielding coaches as well. And you look at New Zealand, they don't have a designated fielding coach, and they're one of the best fielding teams in the world. So the other aspect of it is just that strength and conditioning aspect, where they're honing those skills of their agility, their balance, their coordination, and their speed. And again, we talk about someone like Glenn Phillips. That's where he's got good hands, but he's so agile, he's so fast to the ball, and he's got very good strength, which means when he throws a ball in from the boundary, it goes very quick. So you've seen a massive shift in that around the world, especially with trainers putting a big emphasis on strength and conditioning.
Yeah, I think he perhaps took the cat of the tournament in terms of getting Stoinis out in that opener, but he's going on to play a gem right now, and it's costing Sri Lanka big time because they did drop him once but twice. Michael, come in here. We talk about New Zealand being the tournament team and they're doing the basic rights and all of that stuff. This partnership is potentially a match-winning one.
Well, there's a long way to go for that, but it certainly, I like to keep an eye on the odds. The bookies, they know what's happening in the game, and because that's how they make their money. they had New Zealand at about $1 at about $2.40. So that's saying around about a 30% chance of winning. They've now got New Zealand. It's changed considerably. Now New Zealand are well in front, and that's in terms of where the bookies are at with it. So I think that tells you it's been a pretty big partnership. Probably saying New Zealand's at about 60% now, 65%. So double the chance of winning through the course of this partnership. And I think that's fair. I think that there's a point where once a batsman get in on this pitch, I think it's a lot easier to bat on. It seems to be there's a bit of bounce, a little bit of spin, but it's more holding than doing anything. It's not really going sharply sideways. But there's drift, and it looks like it's. I'm not there. I don't know about the air, but it looks like the spinners are able to get the ball to dip. So there's that sort of still humidity sort of thing that's happening. The players now have adapted to that, and so these guys have got used to the conditions. They know what's happening. This could be a very big. The next wicket coming is vital for Sri Lanka.
It also highlights the beauty of 2020 cricket, doesn't it? Where you look at 4 overs when New Zealand were 24 for 3, pretty close to being 24 for 4. That guy that was dropped is now absolutely dominating, and that 145 that I was talking about 10 minutes ago now potentially looking like 160, 165. If these two can bat to the 16th, 17th over, and then ideally longer, then you've got Neesham to come in for 15, 20 balls. I think 160 plus is a very gettable total, which 8 and over on any ground is it's a really defendable total. So it takes one player in 2020 to really change the game, and Glenn Phillips, touchwood, is doing it at the moment and keeps doing it for the next 5 or 6 overs.
Yep, and they can hit in the air fearlessly because they know Sri Lanka are not going to catch any.
Yeah, you never count on that though.
Talking about learning something new. How close is Hasaranga to replicate Trevor Chappell?
I think he's only halfway there. But yeah, look, I love the fact that he's bowling like that. I think it's wonderful, smart cricket. It's that where everyone else is trying to get as high as they can to try and get that extra bounce and try to change that angle. He's trying the complete opposite, and it's so effective because he's coming from a different angle to what people are used to facing. It's great.
Yeah, he's got a wicket as well. Sorry to cut you off, but Glenn, you can add on to this because it's maybe the perfect time for someone like Neesham to come out. Because there's 5.5 overs to go. You touched upon 140, 150 being a good one, and Hasaranga strikes as much as we're talking about him. Just want to pick you guys about a certain crossword we're doing in this watch along, and let's just ask these guys as well to jump in. Glenn, and of course,
we can have the next clue.
We can have the next clue, so we'll put it on the screen for both of you guys, and all the viewers can jump in as well. So Sean and Shona, can we put the crossword across so even Glenn and Michael can get their brains involved right now, to be fair. So this is how it is already. The 3 clues essentially. The first one is 1 down, fastest T20 international 100 for New Zealand. It's an 8-letter name. And then the second one, joint highest wicket taker in T20 internationals. And the third clue, which is a kind of new one for all the viewers, 2 wickets of his very first 2 deliveries in T20 internationals. Remember, the bigger clue is Sri Lanka and New Zealand players. So Glenn, Michael, do you guys want to have a first go and crack at this?
Well, I guess number 1, I mean, I don't know, but I think it might be McCullum against Australia at Christchurch. That was a really quick 100. So that would be my guess. 8 letters, McCullum. There's only 4 guys scored a T20 100 for New Zealand, so there's not many options. And Munro doesn't fit, so would be McCullum would be my guess there for the fastest T20 100.
Yeah. I think the other 3 are what? Guptill, Munro, and Phillips. I think the other 3.
Yeah,
batters. It's none of those. It's not 8 either, is it?
Yeah. So that narrows it down significantly.
Yeah. So go back to the crossword shot. So McCullum, I think, probably picks himself, and I think Michael's got the points over there. see if Glenn can get the other two clues right now and help the viewers out as well. Joint highest wicket taker in T20 internationals, barring in mind this is Sri Lanka New Zealand game, so the answer lies between those two countries and their players. Glenn?
Oh, it's Tim Southey.
Tim Southey, yeah.
Yeah, Tim Southey. Remember, 2 down is, of course, Southey fits perfectly. And then 5 across, 2 wickets of his first 2 deliveries in T20 internationals. It's of 8-letter name, and I think the second letter of his name is E, because we've guessed Southey. So any guesses, gents?
Nothing springs to mind for me on that one. 2 in his
2
first
wickets of his very first 2 balls in T20 internationals. I'm sure you guys are cricket geeks. Bishan? 2 wickets.
I wonder if Hamish Bennett did that.
Hamish Bennett's a good name.
We
don't want to spoil it for the viewers, but we'll give out all the answers for sure. Glenn, what's your best bet?
I'm gonna say Sodhi. That's not going to fit there, is it?
Yeah, Sodhi's a good shout as well, but I think we're looking for what is it? An 8-letter name? Guys, just do all the if you guys can.
Yeah, the second letter being E.
Second letter being E, more importantly. I'm trying to Google it to just get a head start on you guys. But look, lots of fun in games like this on the watch along. So we'll come back to this because right now it's shaping up to be a good final 5 from a New Zealand perspective. Let's also get the predictions out of the way from Glenn and Michael because they've seen a lot of cricket. One Aucklander, one man from Wellington. What do we have? What's brewing in your heads, guys? The scores. And be specific, Glenn and Michael.
All right. Well, okay. For me, I think we've got 2 overs of spin left and 3 overs of pace, have we? So, just looking at the batsmen against those 2 things, I think we're probably looking at 55 more runs. So I'm going to say 157, probably 157 for 7 would be my pick.
Okay, love the specifics of it. Glenn, you echo those
I'm
thoughts?
going to go 160, just a nice round figure. Michael raised a really interesting point there because that's right, looking at the matchups of these 2 batsmen against the bowlers, I'm going 160, but it potentially could be low. I think the next couple of overs are really crucial. If Sri Lanka can get both of these batsmen out and all of a sudden we've got Sodhi in, who's not really known for his batting, then we're going to get nowhere near 160 potentially. But if these 2 are still batting, to the 18th, 19th over, then 160's on.
Well, I think if these 2 are still there in the 19th over, I think 160 might be short. But now, Trey Glenn, you coach Jimmy Neesham as well, and he was again another player who perhaps had fallen off the radar. Well, considerably. I mean, he'd been dropped from Otago, gone from playing for New Zealand to being dropped from Otago, and you managed to unlock what we're seeing now in him. What were some of the keys there?
One of the keys is probably just himself, really, to be honest, and wanting to enjoy his cricket. He, as you would have been aware, he'd a bit of a decent record for New Zealand at the time, and then went back and played for Otago when he got dropped for New Zealand, and had a couple of years where he probably underperformed, and by his own admissions, put a lot of pressure on himself, and probably went away from a lot of the things that had made him successful. So coming to Wellington was really a real fresh start for him, and the main thing for him, the main motivation for him was he just wanted to enjoy his cricket and just go out and play it like he was like a kid effectively. So for us, we really just tried to put no pressure on him. I think he'd always had pressure on him, but from external sources, from media, from coaches, from his peers, and probably from himself. So we tried to strip all that back and take all those things away and just say, well, just play for the love of it. Just enjoy your cricket. If you go out and don't get runs, that's okay. Somebody else will get them, hopefully. So we just tried to make it a really fun environment for him where he could enjoy it and not talk to him too much about performance, because we knew he was world class, even though as you said, he'd missed out or been dropped by Otago. We knew he was still a world-class player, so that really freed up his mind and just allowed him to play. And then he did get back in the Black Caps, and I think now he's trying to continue on with that mindset, whatever level he's playing, where he just goes out and tries to enjoy himself and plays what's in front of him. And that's a lot easier said than done, as you can imagine. He's at a World Cup now. There is pressure. He's been to a World Cup final that New Zealand tied. So there's pressure in those situations. So he's really been challenged, I guess, in terms of that approach. But I know it's something that he's, over the last 4 years anyway, he's really tried to strive to have every time he plays his cricket, just enjoy himself and react to the ball and see if he can get a couple out of the middle and get some 4s and 6s.
Yeah. We'll get a substitute on in the in-house field here. We'll get Shubha Agarwal, one of our in-house siders, to join us right now, probably join this Kiwi chat. And Bishan actually mentioned a really good point, Glenn and Michael, about how we're kind of going to be seeing the less of Southee and Bolt in tournaments going forward. Is there going to be a complete transformation when we see that 2024 World Cup unfold? How many names do you expect being ushered out, and how many changes will they be ushering in? I'm fascinated to know, even if I'm not a Kiwi fan.
Oh, Glenn, I'll let you start with that one.
Yeah, no, it's really a great question, because there's in New Zealand there's a lot of really good players to replace them, but they're probably not like for like. We've got a lot of fast bowlers. Ferguson and Milne are both obviously in this squad for the Black Caps. There's a young guy from Wellington, a guy Ben Sears, who can bowl as equally as quick as Ferguson and Milne. He's fast. But there's not a lot of genuine quality swing bowlers, which effectively what Trent Bolt and Tim Southee are. That's where they earn their money effectively in those early overs when the ball's swinging, they're getting wickets, putting the opposition behind the 8 ball. So look, there's certainly some players in the wings, but I wouldn't say they're anywhere near of the quality or standard of the swing bowling that Southee and Bolt have got at their best. So I believe it's probably going to be an interesting time if they both go at the same time. The 2 massive roles to fill, where you've got 2 new ball bowlers and effectively you've got 2 death bowlers in them as well. So it's interesting. There's some players there, but they're not of that standard. So interested to what you think, Michael.
Yeah, I think you're right. The traditionally our strength in New Zealand has been our swing bowling. We've had some really good swing bowlers through the year, and there's not a lot of it happening in domestic cricket. The good young bowlers that are coming through all seem to be bang it in bowlers, and that's not so useful in opening the bowling in T20s. So guys that can get under the bat, there's not a huge number of them, and the guys that have been a little bit encouraging sort of haven't gone on. Like there was James Baker, played for Northern. He's playing for Samoa now, and he looked really good for a season, and we haven't seen much of him since then. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure there's someone ready to stand up, but we just haven't seen much of it yet. But the one thing that I am really excited by, and it's happening in domestic cricket at the moment, is a young guy, Eddie Ashok, who has come through the Mount Albert Grammar system, which I was coaching in. So he came through the year after I left, so I didn't get to see him, but I know that everyone that saw him come through were just amazed by his skill from there. And he made his first class debut the other day, picked up 5 wickets on a pitch where none of the spinners looked likely at all. So that's encouraging. And I wonder if in 3 years' time or 2 years' time, he may well be wearing black, because he was certainly, he's another 6.
I didn't interrupt you.
We've got to talk about the game for a second.
It's quite ridiculous how he's played not just one shot, but the second one as well. And he could be getting 100 here. I mean, one of the comments earlier said it's a special ground for him because he made his test debut here. And he, of course, took that sensational catch as well in the opening game. But he's 86 now. That should talk to me and come in here. How much is Glenn Phillips impressed you as much as the Kiwis we have on board?
Glenn Phillips, I mean, I've been a big fan of this guy for quite a while now. From his CPL days for Jamaica Tallawahs, when
Yeah.
he used to single-handedly he would be scoring runs for them. I mean, he would be scoring 400 runs for them, and the next best in the team would be lying around 250, 260. So that itself says that how good a player Glenn Phillips has been.
Yeah.
It is just that he is getting his chance at the highest level only right now or in the last 12 months or so. And today he has clearly showed that how good he has been. I mean, at number 4, walking into bat with the
Pressure that they were.
with the run rate and well under 6, 2-3 wickets down. He has built the innings, and now he is accelerating as well. And these two were really, really good shots over covers and then straight down the ground. Thikshana is not an easy bowler to hit. So I mean, fabulous work from Glenn Phillips so far.
Indeed. Before I get the final thoughts of Glenn and Michael, Bish, they've said 160, but now 160 is looking easily achievable.
I know. It looks like 170, 175 could well happen over here. But I think New Zealand will be happy with anything more than 155. I think they will believe that's defendable.
Yeah.
And so that's, I think, what they're looking to get.
And 155, how many times have we seen that New Zealand pace attack make it look like a 185? Guys, final thoughts, Glenn and Michael, before we bid goodbye to you. And good luck, of course, for the rest of the viewing, because I know it's late viewing hours in terms of New Zealand timings. Confident right now, right? What Glenn Phillips has done in the last half hour, 45 minutes has raised the spirits once again, potentially top in the group, guys, or am I getting ahead of myself?
I mean, I personally think the winner of this game goes on to qualify for the semi-finals. And
Sri Lanka have actually caught one with all the poor fielding going around. Nisham has to depart, but Rajata getting the wicket. Sorry, go on. Just a kind of reminder.
Yeah. So I think that if New Zealand win this, then you've probably got to say we're odds on for being topping the group. If New Zealand lose this, then we've got every chance of going home. So this game is massive for New Zealand, and also for Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka win this, you'd say they're probably the favourites to be the most likely team to get out of the group. They lose this, they're going home. So there's a huge amount on this game.
Glenn, I'm sure.
Yeah, I agree totally.
As diverse as that, or do you echo those thoughts that Glenn has said and Michael has said?
Yeah, definitely. It's not just our pool, but the other pool as well. With the effect of a couple of upsets and a few washouts, it's opened both pools right up, which is brilliant for world cricket because I think at the start of the tournament, probably people only would have said either England, Australia, or New Zealand will be going through out of this pool. But, I think there's 5 of the teams can still actually make it due to those reasons. So, massive 3 overs to go here and then a massive second innings. And it's going to be interesting to see who turns up, I guess, in that second innings and who's going to put their best foot forward. It's going to be a fascinating second half of the innings.
Yeah, compelling, dare I say. Good luck, gentlemen, having a watch of the second innings with whatever beverage in hand, hot chocolate, coffee, suit yourselves wherever, make yourself feel comfortable, and probably get involved in the comments as well if you guys have nothing else to do apart from the watch along. Thanks so much, Glenn Pocknall, of course, and not to forget Michael Wagner, who's made his time felt on the World Cup watch along. We'll say goodbye to both of them right now before we get into, of course, the last 3 overs of this watch along. So appreciate it. Always good to talk to a bunch of New Zealanders, especially from their own backyard, when New Zealand, at the end of the day, were having something to say with the bat in hand, right? All eyes and rightly so go on Glenn Phillips. You were talking to me about how he was prolific in the CPL, 86, 14 runs shy from the second 100 this year after Radi Russo.
Yeah.
Oh, and his personal career as well.
Yeah, his personal career as well. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing left to say. I mean, he is one of the most complete T20 cricketers right now. He can open, he can bat at number 4, he can bowl, he can keep wickets.
You said T20 cricketers. I don't know if you heard those 2 gents there. They were painting Glenn Phillips like he was a Renaissance man from Kiwis. He was apparently an archer. He's taken to surfing. He helps kids off the field when the sixes are being hit on them. Walks out of John Cena's music. What can't he do? Honestly.
I mean, seriously, there is nothing. He's a very likable fellow. He's a very enjoyable fellow to watch. And I mean, I remember Somesh was taking a dig at him that what has Glenn Phillips done? I mean, where my only answer to that was you may not have seen enough of him. I've seen him field. I've seen a lot of CPL. You know that already. So
yeah.
I mean, what he's doing right now, it's no surprise for me. He thoroughly deserves 100. I hope he gets those 10 runs. And yeah, I think New Zealand have a good shot at 170, which will be a very, very good score.
Yeah, I think the guys who just got on saying 157, 160. I'll take a small little breather, but I'll throw Bishan a question before I leave, and Somesh can replace me. Are Sri Lanka missing the trick by not utilizing 12 overs of spin? They have, my opinion, quickly. Glenn Phillips out there. I think he's made Mahesh Teechner look absolutely shocking.
Equally good against both.
Oh, there's another no ball. We'll make a substitute. I'll be back in a bit. So take over and talk to me about how many runs New Zealand are getting from
Okay,
here.
first off, Glenn Phillips. If
Oh my God, he's played another gem for 4 or 2.
If Sri Lanka would have fielded like a first-class side should, we wouldn't have having a conversation about Glenn Phillips in the first place. Talking about deserve, he's had luck on his side as well. 2 drop catches and a run out. I mean,
But he's
After
made the,
two-
to be fair to him, he's made the most of it.
after 2 drop catches and a run out, I think I give 50% chance to every top 4 player to score 100.
But still, I mean, the kind
So
of
much
shot
is
that he
very
has
harsh
played
right now.
and stuff, right? The kind of shot that
No,
he
I
has
mean,
played.
the quality of some of the shots, I mean, that those 6 in our like
back-to-back sixes.
next level.
Back-to-back sixes in the last over, followed by back-to-back no balls in this over. So
But I
Sri
mean-
Lanka are just making a meal of it.
Yeah, I
right
mean,
now.
Sri Lanka, I mean, I'm embarrassed to say that these are the champions of our subcontinent.
But Sri Lanka don't become champions by being the best team in the tournament. They become champions by being resilient, by fighting through it, making the most of the situation.
Yeah, but I mean, what's the point of having so much talent if you can't do the basics right? They're dropping catches, bowling no balls. This is just uncalled for.
6 of their most talented people have left the country. So
Yeah, that's there.
Oh,
And the only Rajapaksa left is not having a very good World
yeah,
Cup.
true.
so Glenn Phillips is rightly nifty.
What do you guys think of
This could have easily been 109 for 5 or even 109 for 7 at this moment if Sri Lanka would have done the basics right. In a way, that's good that they are the Asian champions because they are actually fielding the way all Asian sides are. So they have a proper reflection of the state of fielding affairs in the subcontinent at the moment.
Martin Guptill? Don't you think most teams would be more than happy to have Martin Guptill in their team? As of today, even he's not in the prime of his career, no doubt. But wherever he is in his career right now, I would think most teams would still take him. I was quite shocked to see him not open the batting in the first T20 against Australia. And Finalen, of course, now has made that place his own. There is no place for him to come back. I don't know. Is there a way that is Martin Guptill a better bet than Kane Williamson in that batting lineup, for example? I don't know.
At least I would use Martin Guptill how India used Jadeja in 2019 World Cup. Have him the 12th man, at least have him fielding. He's
Yeah,
an
true,
exceptional fielder.
But I think Guptill's form just went really on a slump. They tried to make it work, but
Yeah.
it was just not happening. And then they needed to fit in Finn Allen. I mean, you cannot have him on the bench. So someone had to go out. And since Conway was also scoring runs, Guptill was the only man.
Yeah, but at this moment, I think if we just pick 30 batters from New Zealand, the top 30 run getters from New Zealand in their domestic T20 competition, I think all of them can replace Kane Williamson. Yeah, he's 3 short of his 100. And Sri Lanka have shot themselves in the foot, and also may potentially one of England and Australia from the look of things.
I know nobody cares about a fantasy team, but I don't have Phillips today.
Oops. So he doesn't rate Philip either.
I'm just thinking the same thing. How can you not have Glenn Phillips?
He's literally the all-rounder.
I picked Conway
He'll
and
do a
Finn.
lot of things.
Nice shot again. 2 at least.
So this is the third fielder that I'm observing who's fielding at long off. So even Sri Lanka, I'm not sure who should field at long off. Every time someone drops again, they just replace him. It was Nisanka to begin with, then
This is
Shanaka
Bandara,
was
wasn't
there. Yeah, I guess.
Oh, just look at that field on the leg side. It's massive.
Side curve. Will he take the run of the last ball today?
Final.
But what was worse? Was it Ashwin not running that extra run against West Indies? Do you guys remember that the test match?
Which one? Oh, that one.
Last ball, 2 runs to win.
One hit it.
Where Ashwin jogs one and calls it off. instead of just trying to run to and win the match.
Yeah, I mean, match would have been tied at best if he was run out. So he
Correct.
should have gone for that second run, but okay. But still, it cost New Zealand a World Cup, so I think the Santner one was a lot more worse.
Vasandaran asking us, Gurkira says catches don't define matches. I've not heard him say this, but still I'll take your point. Your take on this. I know Phillips' catch cost Sri Lanka World Cup. That's very far-fetched. They must have cost them this game, but not the World Cup. Sri Lanka are not favourites, guys.
They can still score 160 and win this match despite the last catch.
It will cost the World Cup to either of England or Australia.
Yeah.
And not Sri Lanka, I feel.
But, I mean, see, the point is, one drop catch is allowed, but not off. I mean, that was very basic, but
well played.
100 for Glenn Phillips.
Celebration almost similar to what he did after taking that catch. Just looking at the crowd.
So for him, the 100 and the catch is equally important, which is a good thing.
Is this his second 100?
This is his second 100. I remember him scoring one against West Indies in New Zealand. December 2021. I'm not sure about the time when he did that, but he has definitely scored 100.
Only Kiwi to now score 200s, man.
Colin Munro has a couple
of 200s?
I think he has a couple of hundreds.
How many hundreds does Kapil have?
One.
So Thiksena, the death bowler, is not really working out.
Yeah, however good you are, towards the death bowling spin, I don't know, I mean...
he's actually bowling same length and same line, and Glenn Phillips has really read him. He's standing way outside his leg stump.
He's just swinging with the like just making room on that length.
Thiksena has bowled almost all balls good length and in line with the middle and leg stump or following Glenn Phillips' body. So
it's not a ground where the ball is turning. The ball is holding up. It's not turning as such. So if you're bowling, you're bowling slow medium basically towards the death over here. And when the batsman is set, he's just waiting and swinging to the line.
It's easy for him because you are not changing your length, your pace at all. He's not going for yorkers as well. So I think if we have a pitch map for Thiksena spell, this spell of last 2 overs, the length would be quite similar. The impact of the ball around the stumps will also be quite similar.
So despite this excellent innings now from Glenn Phillips, you just have an average score. I mean, New Zealand, Sri Lanka have a below average batting lineup, chasing an average score.
Sri Lanka can still chase it down, even if it's 170 odd. They can chase it down. They have the batting, I feel, because all they do is everyone can score those 15 ball, 25, 30, which would be enough if everyone chips in. That's how they won the Asia Cup.
Yeah, but Nissan are going to score a 30 ball, 25.
The conditions are very different.
I think
so that
New Zealand are already 10 runs above what Sri Lanka would have wanted.
Yeah, I think so. And they may not get 170. So 165 or so you can expect from here.
Yeah, wide.
And guys like Nisanka and Asalanka are going to score you to 25 or 30 balls each. Yeah, and then the other guy scoring 30 or 15 won't be enough.
It'll be interesting to see the movement that New Zealand get. The bowl, Saudi and bold. Because I think that will define the game. Because, like I said, spin can still be neutralized by the 2 lefties.
Yeah.
But I think it's the pace that will define this game.
So, Glenn Phillips, second 100. Kapil has 2, Munro has 3.
Munro has 3?
3, yeah.
T20 I100s.
T20 I100s.
Lahiru. Wow. Does Rohit have 4?
Rohit has 4.
Rohit has 4. Rahul has 4. 3. Yep. Sensational knock from Phillips. No doubt about that. And this is where, I mean, making mistakes against New Zealand it's like a double negative because they won't do it. They won't make mistakes.
Today is the day when they're going to drop 3 catches just because you said it.
Yeah, maybe. I'd want them to because I still want this group to be
exciting.
Even more complicated than it already is. Because New Zealand, if they win here, they'll just have one foot already in the innings.
Phillips at the non-striker.
Shot.
6. Did you guys see Phillips standing at the non-striker end on that ball?
He dropped his bat.
But he did not really made an effort to pick it up and stand straight. He was like
पता था उसको कि
रन बहादुर वो रेस के टाइम पे जैसे हम लोग
On
खड़े
your
होते हैं ना
mark,
on your
get
mark, get set, go. That's what he was.
At the start of the innings, we all said what is the number that we think Sri Lanka will be happy with. And I think we all said 150, 160 in that range. And they're only going to get there despite
but
this.
it's 161 with 3 balls to go, so they might even touch 170, which is
possible. It's not. So Sri Lanka should really not be too unhappy with this. Sure, from 25 for 3, they should not have
He
got.
did not drop his bat. He was actually standing like that on
like a
purpose.
bull.
Yeah.
Glenn Phillips is actually, if I have to think of an animal, he's like a bull. Proper. He's built that way, 500 push-ups a day.
What is he doing? Is that really making him faster?
I don't know. I wish we had Glenn Pocknell on now. He could have asked him about it.
The proper sprinter. But with his catching, his antics on the field, definitely gonna gain a lot of fans.
Will he catch? Will they?
Oh, finally a catch taken. A good knock.
63.
Yeah. Incredible. Among the nicer New Zealand kits in recent times, I think. I mean, they always had good kits.
When have New Zealand had an average kit?
Yeah, they've always had good kits.
Either it's
99 World Cup?
above-
That
99,
blue.
yeah.
That blue
not
was.
like-
Steel.
Yeah.
Steel सास याद था पता नहीं कौन सा blue था कुछ तो अजीब सा blue था turquoise blue.
It's the ANZ blue,
Yeah.
which they now have.
They also tried it recently. I mean, that last match before COVID break happened, Australia and New Zealand both played in their retro kits. Australia played in that 99 World Cup jersey, and New Zealand played some jersey from 1998.
Which were like full grey.
Not full grey. It was like that big leaf in the middle. Leaf के नीचे it was black. ऊपर it was turquoise completely. Oh, Akash's favorite cricketer.
Oh, Sodis आए हैं.
1 ball to go, 2 balls.
2 balls to go. Peace, Sodi.
What do you think of the rule of no changeovers when the ball's in the air?
I never understood why it used to happen in the first place.
Yeah, I mean unnecessary. I mean, so essentially you are penalizing the bowler for taking a wicket.
अबे भाई डाई मार लेता यार.
Oh, if only Sri Lanka had fielded like this in the first half, this game would have been very
He
different.
looks so confident, like कुछ वही भाई out है तू.
Yeah, he's
He's
walking
walking
He's
off.
walking off.
He knows he's out.
डाई मार लेता यार एक रन के लिए.
Oh,
But Team South Africa is the last ball, I guess. Team South Africa should have come before Sodi, I feel.
Yeah.
Sodi is living up to his
Yeah,
place of origin.
Why would Saudi come in before Saudi?
Saudi must have been in the loo or something. That's the only explanation.
Because Saudi could
Yeah, he can
finish his
actually
test career as one of the biggest six hitters.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is actually
No, so Ben Stokes took over him, but South is still the second highest six hitter in Test cricket among active
Imagine
cricketers.
he's active cricketers.
Amongst active cricketers.
So
Because he has something like 60
who
or
has more
70.
test sixes, him or Brendan McCullum?
They are 30 40
Brett
more.
McCullum has the most.
McCullum, Gilchrist
McCullum
all
has
have
the
30
most.
40 more.
Okay.
107, 108, something like that. I think Saudi is around
So
60 or
take
so.
over.
Yeah.
There was a time when Adam Gilchrist had the most sixes, 87, then Chris Gaines became the first one to get past 100 sixes in Test matches. Sir McCullum also did it.
Yep. So Glenn actually has a few words for the Glenn. It was an amazing innings and a very crucial drop.
See?
Oh,
Saudi now,
right?
yeah.
Pehli
Back
ball
from the
no,
loo.
Saudi
Back from the loo and
पहली बॉल के लिए चौका.
And Glenn, I mean, if you have some thoughts on that, his stance at the non-striker end, when he's like a sprinter, waiting to run, learning from Usain Bolt maybe.
you'll see him, based on what you said, you'll see him at the next Olympics.
Yeah.
But after the kind of start that Sri Lanka had, what do you think they
Sri
were
Lanka would-
aiming to restrict the Black Caps?
Less than
I
140.
said
Should have been less than 140.
Less than 140 was what.
So they've given 25, 30 runs more than they should have.
It would have been interesting if Trent Bolt would have done that. Trent Bolt
No, well done.
doing a Usain Bolt.
Well done.
Oh,
Yep. So, guys, what do you think?
Yeah, it is.
I think Sri Lanka should think of this as how would they have taken the score at the start of the game.
Yeah.
I think they would have been very happy with 165
Hmm.
and thought that they have a good chance of winning this. Sure, with at 25 for 3, they should have been 135 or so. Should have got them 135. They didn't, but they're very much in this game, and I think they should think of it like that.
Yeah, 168. So, I think there's still room for them to bat like Patum Nisanga can bat like he usually does.
He can afford to. Yeah,
He can afford
they
to,
don't,
but
doesn't
then
need to
others
go
will have
bang,
to.
bang. Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually, I have a question for Ani. Is this the lowest among the lowest T20 scores when there's been 100? Because Phillips has scored 104 out of 167. That's about 60%.
Yeah, question has a lot of merit, but I think it might come out something
About 70%.
And also, it's
something it might come out
the
from
highest
Indies.
percentage of runs the batters scored.
That may not be. Because even in a 70 all out 50 is
Yeah.
But usually when one batsman scores 100, it means the team's doing well.
Yeah.
You would expect them to score 118,
See,
119.
what's to say there's a par score easy chase. I don't know if it would be an easy chase.
It's an easy chase
Unless New Zealand
above average batting team.
Unless New Zealand feels
Stronger
like
suit is their
Sri
Sri
Lanka.
Lanka, it is not going to be an easy chase.
And New Zealand stronger suit is their bowling, I feel. So
Vasan said like Ellis Perry, New Zealand cricketers and Australian are all-round multifaceted. I think that applies for a lot of South African cricketers too.
yeah.
It's the culture, Vasan. I mean, they're used to playing sports from the very beginning.
इंडिया में तो गली क्रिकेट में अगर बैटिंग आती है तो
Bowling भी नहीं आती है, तो
फिर
हमारे तो एक स्पोर्ट में भी तुम एक ही चीज कर सकते
एक
हो.
ही
तो
चीज
फिर-
कर सकते हो. So,
Yeah, the Aussie team currently just has so many all-rounders. If that England-Australia match will be full of all-rounders.
Yeah, yeah.
Stokes, Curran, Marsh, Maxwell, Stoinis.
around few months back, India was struggling to find one bowling option in their top six. England are carrying 3 and 4
Yeah.
in their top six. I mean, वो top 6 से ही उनका bowling attack बना सकते हैं. So,
हाँ नहीं भाई बताओ.
Yes, bolo bhai. Yeah, so Glenn Phillips contributed 62.3% of the runs today. So wo matlab it's not in the top list or something because Aaron Finch in his
When a batsman scored 100, what's the highest team score? Lowest team score, sorry.
lowest team score. There are too many instances here. Like if you want somebody like a top playing nation, then this would come up somewhere around 5th or 6th. Just checking on that. So Rizwan also scored 104 and Pakistan scored 169. And there are so many. I mean,
No, but
like
less
there are
than
so
that.
many other. Sorry.
Today is less than that though. 104 and they only scored 167.
I know, but like there are these major associate teams where they have scored like one has scored 100 and 146 and all those things.
What about among the top 10 teams?
1 second, I'll just let you know.
Come, Anirudh, join us. It's the other
Next
Anirudh.
place here.
Yeah, I'll sit.
Not really. The only problem is still kicking too.
That's not getting beaten
Yeah,
unless there is
29 to
something.
He was not dropped twice and he was not
Something
This is not even called misconduct.
seven off twice.
That was Nishan, by the way.
But dropped twice. And one of them was like a 100 on 100 regular. Not even 98.
But I think this is the West Indies batting possibly.
There was the Convoy 92.
But I think that Sikandar Raza not really time.
The thing is, Conway form doesn't happen without the help of Finland.
Yeah.
It's kind of
From a tough situation.
So please.
But
Just the momentum is too much right now. I feel like
I think Sri Lanka need a good power play. They can't have an average 30 to 1 power play.
So they start feeling pressure,
They have to do.
considering-
They have to do more than what Ireland did to something like that.
But they don't need that. They don't need.
They don't need-
they don't need the 60 in this power play. They only need 45 in this power play.
Or 45 for one.
Yeah, 45 for one.
And
I don't know. You might have to mute yourself or mute the
Yeah.
numbers.
the boundaries were actually hard to come by. Phillips was just displaying
Brute
crazy
power.
power. It's
the
like,
bull. He was bullish.
Sri Lanka just ran into two Musclemen in back-to-back matches.
He was hitting the 90-meter sixes, wasn't he?
Yeah,
A couple of them.
straight
At
on
And this is not a
feet.
need in Australian
Yeah.
tennis. You have to be well built to hit six.
It's just that I think the sixes he hit of Tikshana, only him and Stoinis can do that.
Yeah.
Just wait for the length ball, go back and just muzzle it over the
Hardik,
boundary.
Surya.
Hardik, I don't just after
Hardik
Yeah, he
he has
can,
a
but
lot of power.
he
I was thinking of the obvious ones, Pollards and
Yeah.
Russells.
Gale,
Gale, of course.
peak Gale.
Big Gale.
So Phillips, he scored 52 runs in the offside, 52 runs in the onside, 50-50 बराबर का ratio.
Good knock, good knock. But this was Sri Lanka's chance to actually
that
Cruise to a win.
cruise to a win. Be among the favorites to actually go to the semis. This would have been a very big win for them.
Still they can win.
They've already. Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm talking.
You know,
as if- yeah,
They wouldn't have been among the favorites because they would have still had to beat England. Because beating.
yeah, but they've already beaten Netherlands, and who else is in the
beat
group?
Ireland.
Ireland.
They beat
No.
Ireland.
They beat Ireland and they're expected
Ireland,
to beat.
They lost against Australia, so that match
And
out
they,
of the
yeah,
way.
they can
Afghanistan.
actually beat Afghanistan.
Yeah, but
They're-
Afghanistan has been a banana skin for them. They just lost to them.
Yeah, but I think in Asia Cup they lost to them.
Yeah.
In group stage,
And
but
but
beat
then
them
beat
in
But
them
they
in
beat them in
yeah.
the
Super
yeah.
4, was it? Super 4.
Super.
To quote Pommy, New Zealand were dead and half buried
Yeah.
at one point
Yeah.
before Phillips kind of rescued them. But it's crazy. No, the second highest, and what a hand from Mitchell Santner as well.
Mitchell Santner.
Today.
That's 6.
Yeah, correct.
I mean, how much did he score? 16 or 6 or
He
something?
scored 11 of 5, which is a decent knock given the
Yeah.
circumstances he walked in.
Actually.
Because Nisham scored 5 of 8. So वहाँ पे momentum पूरा नीचे जा रहा था, but Santner just picked it up again. 5 of 11.
And
is a
I
decent
loved
knock.
how Phillips was sprinting, like
Like a proper. This is what we were discussing. If it would have been Trent Bolt, and would have made the Usain Bolt comparison. Who do you think is the main batter for Sri Lanka? The one that they really need to succeed.
Nisanka.
Anasalanka. Rajapaksa.
Rajapaksa Hasnaga.
Because
I'm
they
saying
have to-
Nisanka. I'm saying Nisanka because you don't need to score at 170 to win this match. You can score at 120 and still win this
But
match.
still, they have to either the lefty have to click, otherwise the spinners will
Spinners,
just
fair
finish the game for
fair
Netherlands.
Fair enough.
Asalanka has been in. I mean, he had like 5 single-digit scores, but now he has kind of got back into form. And are they starting with? They're starting with South Africa. Okay.
Yeah, they have to. And I think the amount of movement the ball sees, that is going to be crucial.
And
But why
Rajit,
not Bolt to start with? Bolt started against Australia.
but it's just criminal from Sri Lanka to bowl so many extras, put so many catches down. I mean, Rajita bowled a couple of
Those
no
back-to-back
balls
no balls.
consecutively, and I think it started from the Kumara over where he just bowled a no ball, bowled a wide, and after that everything kind of.
But if you
went
have to
downhill.
bowl back to back, if you have to bowl 2 no balls, best way to bowl them is back to back. So that you only get 1 free hit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Why
didn't know
is
this
that?
back.
though? I only realized when I said it. You both bowl 1 free hit. You bowl them at different 2 free hits.
Yeah. Okay. So among the top, the full member nations. So while batting first, this is actually the lowest score involving a century.
That was a good
Batting
one then.
first.
What indeed. What's it? Where we?
This is the lowest score.
Nice,
So
nice.
before it was 169 by Pakistan, the one which I mentioned about Mohammad Rizwan. So it was 169, and Then it was Sri Lanka where Mahela scored his century. So he scored exactly 100 against Zimbabwe. So they had
Which
Sri
World Cup
Lanka
was
had
that?
scored 173 for 7.
When was that,
So
Ani?
these were the top. That was in 2010.
Oh, 12 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ani, thank you so much for your numbers and the
Yep.
data digested. I've digested my lunch as well. I don't know about you boys, but we'll get all the thoughts of Ani in just a bit. We'll also reflect the crossword before Saudi bowls the first over, but I want Sri Lanka to go crash bang wallop or sedate, circumspect. What do you want to
We
see?
just discussed this. I was saying that they don't need to go crash bang all up.
Okay.
And Sri Lanka should aim to get to about 45 in the power play.
Mhm.
Lose maybe not more than 1 wicket ideally.
Yeah.
That gives them enough of a platform to score, get to the somewhat par score.
That is true. I remember Nisanka. Oh, it's a great shot, but no run. He dropped Phillips when he was on 12. Phillips went on to get what he got. Mentally, as a batsman, if you're Nisanka, are you feeling more pressurized right now, saying, "Oh my God, I've got
I think
that."
this depends on batter to batter, right? And that is where the mental strength
Yeah.
and conditioning comes into picture. I mean, luckily, I was actually listening to CSK's mental health coach just this morning. I happened to just come across
Coincidences
that
in life.
and he said that this is what the job of a mental conditioning coach is.
Yeah.
Teach the player to just live in the moment. What has happened has happened. I mean, it's not about the future. It's about the next ball. That is important.
That is true.
At that moment, that is the only thing that you can control is how you face the next ball.
In an ideal world, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But as a human being who's just walking onto the ground, I can't imagine him not thinking about it.
Yeah.
So
Hopefully, when he's facing the ball, he's thinking about the ball only.
but that is where players are different, right? That is where we talk about players who are big match players and some who are, even though vastly talented, but not so much of a big match player. This is where they're mentally different.
Fair.
Because they can actually
Zone out some
and
stuff.
just and just focus on the moment and capitalize on it.
How do you guys rate this opening pair, Sri Lanka, generally, other teams? Are they way down the pecking order? I mean, they're great players, technically sound and all of that, but are they the right two? Especially in power plays where you keep mentioning the space is crucial.
I don't think they are great players. I mean, to be blunt.
Okay. In this format.
Yeah, in this format. Mendes on his day can be pretty good, but the number of times he has a good day is, I mean, few and far between.
Are you saying that because they don't have the fourth and fifth gear in them?
Mendes does have it.
Yeah.
But Mendes doesn't have it enough to do it consistently. Nisanka, I think, doesn't have it.
At all.
Yeah. So together, basically Mendes' issue clearly is shot selection and not playing high percentage shots often enough, which is why he's not scoring them big runs consistently enough at that rate.
Correct.
Right? So you have a guy who's playing low percentage shots and a guy who is not able to push on to the fourth or fifth gear, which makes them really a below average opening pair.
Yeah, it's gone.
Probably gone.
It's gone. And Saudi, how often has he struck in the first over? We talk about bold success in the first over. I'd love to know Saudi's stats in the first over for T20, and that was dead plumb. I'm surely thinking they're not going to review this.
Only thing is height.
Even Kusal Mendes has said, so Peter Nisanka having an absolute shocking time in Sydney, dropping Phillips and a 5-ball duck.
Wow.
Yeah, this is as bad a game as it comes, and duck of 5 balls is
Williamson-esque. Bavuma-esque. But yeah, it's we were always kind of predicting how the New Zealand bowlers will get all the money right away, and Saudis vindicated that. And it just pushed them back. But is this a blessing in disguise?
Yeah, this is where I sort of disagree with your husband. I feel that in power play teams should go hard. I mean, because this is what happens if you are
when you're batting first, I agree with you. When you're batting second, it depends on what you have to.
But the thing
do,
is,
right?
if you are cautious and then lose 2 wickets in a hurry, there is like too much work for the new guys to come in.
But we saw the India Pakistan game, right?
You should always be ahead of the rate.
True.
And right now, the required rate is 8.5. So
but the chance of losing a wicket is more if you attack, right? Here he didn't score runs. Sure, he didn't get going.
I mean, the point is, but power play is are the overs where you can capitalize. You can actually get away with a few toppages and all. That is where you should. I feel
so can they send Rajpaksa now?
It is not about who they should send. I mean, it's also about countering the new ball. But
and they're definitely holding Rajpaksha for the spinners because he will counter them the best.
So the and Santla.
If you look at 8.5, that itself is 50. So at least you should be 50
almost
in the power play.
So they're sticking with their tried and tested method of DDS at 3 and maiden wicket from Tim Southee.
Height is the
Honestly.
only question here.
But
No, height is also fine.
crashing in the middle of middle.
a
Wow.
poor shot because it was like proper tail ender height
Proper slog.
slog.
A heave-o across the line. Glenn Phillips likes it. Of course, he's been zapped, so he's probably going to come on at some course of time. But we heard from Glenn Pocknell and Michael about New Zealand's chances. They were pretty confident. They, in fact, went on to say if New Zealand win this game, they potentially might even take the tournament, which is a
Yeah.
TV bias. But yeah, nonetheless, a great start for New Zealand. And I kept mentioning it as well. Whatever target they have, they make it look like it's 20 runs more. Not just with Sodhi and Southee, but the spinners will be definitely on focus today. Not because of people like Rajpaksa, but Sri Lanka plays spin pretty well.
And look at the start. It's a wicket maiden to start with. It's like already New Zealand have added 10 runs to their total.
Oh my God. Let's see if, look, Southee, we were doing the crossword and he featured in that crossword. So it's a good time to bring that crossword back on just to create a little bit of curiosity and interest amongst our viewers. Shaunak, I will politely request you to put up the crossword. There we go. There we go. So we, of course, went past the 3 names. Oh, flashed away. And that is brilliant from Kusal Mendes. Ball 1, striking at 400.
Yeah.
Jokes apart, though. Down 3 is the latest clue we have. Hat-trick and conceded 6 sixes in an over in the same game. I know who it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think most
It's
of us
not
know.
in New Zealand, no? It is an RCB man. Unfortunate. No, sorry, he's not an RCB man.
What
What am
are
I
you
saying?
talking
Sorry, I
about?
got confused. Where is that man, by the way?
I don't know.
Injured? Not injured? We'll give you guys 5 minutes to tell us. I'm pretty sure all you guys know. That's the clue. Shona, we'll just go back to that crossword and then we'll talk about the match. So 3 down. That's the name we're looking for. Hat-trick and conceded 6 sixes in an over in the same game. By the way, you guys are joining us late to this crossword party. We've already attempted 1, 2 down and 5 across. But we'll not give the answers as yet. We'll probably break it down at the end of the show. So keep your comments coming and we'll have a little bit of fun on the cricketing crossword, which is a new element we've introduced in the show. Speaking of new elements, introspect ruining it for everyone. Not really, but well done. Akila Dhananjaya. Ed's didn't go on. We talk about intent, and Bish was saying you've got to be cautious, and it's a double-edged sword. This bowl, how many times, bro? It's like Shaheen bowled movie, like. It's
See,
like,
how can you be cautious in a power play? You'll have to technically play out maidens, right?
but these two are so good at what they do. So
No, cautious in a T20 game is not cautious in a test match.
Yeah.
Cautious in a T20 game, you have to still score 7 runs in over.
I think that is the mistake with Rohit and Rahul made because the
Timid.
idea was we'll be cautious and Rahul literally missed 4,500 only against KL just against Shaheen
Shaheen.
because they were mentally prepared to just play that over out.
I hate how cricket can just be so cruel. We were here 2 hours ago when New Zealand had their backs against the wall 15 for 3, and we're thinking, yeah, sure, it's going to be Sri Lanka's day out. Could still be, but now.
It could still be. I mean, till what point are we going to still give Sri Lanka any chance?
No, he was brave enough to say New Zealand are going to win by big, and that's turning out to be true. They remember had a huge win go.
Even at
for
30 for 3, I thought New Zealand would still win this.
So they hammered Australia. They got a point in that rained-out game against who was it? Afghanistan, and now they're destroying Sri Lanka. Are we seeing the world champions in front of our eyes?
Yeah, that will be very foolhardy to say it because, of course, anything can happen in semis and all. I mean, in the group stages.
In the group stages, look, this is the question we answered yesterday, Watchalong, which Bishop wasn't there. As Indian fans, as Indian cricket lovers, is New Zealand the nightmare team that we want to face or not want to face? Because every time any ICC competition, they've just got the wood over us.
Yeah, but every time we get to the last stage of a tournament and you see what will the fixtures be like, who we want to play, you would say New Zealand, right? And ultimately, if you get to play New Zealand in this World Cup in a semi-final match, I think you take it. You'd rather play them than play
Australia,
or England,
yeah.
or even Pakistan. You know,
by the looks of things, India can might play New Zealand in the final. So,
yeah,
because both of them will looks as of now look like topping their group.
And have India and New Zealand made a final before in ICC event?
Yeah.
2000, the Chris Gaines one, where the truck driver drove away. Sorry if you know.
See, where we've gone from suddenly saying Sri Lanka might even will win the thing to done and dusted.
They're dusted, but they're not done because those two names still have a glimmer of hope.
Yeah, but they've had a torrid tournament, so I think it's 90-10 in favor of New Zealand.
90-10. Brings out our crit lyrics predictor. on cricket.com.
You're doing a great job with that, Nish.
Honestly, at times, because Cricklytics, we're not dubbing it. It is the world's best cricket predicting algorithm. I've got that right. So you guys get it right. Oh my God, 90-10 became probably 99-1 right now.
5 for 3.
It's ridiculous. 5 for 3.
This India-like start.
Oh my
2019,
God, what
21,
are they
5 for 3.
doing?
10 for 4, I guess.
Wow, Cricklytics is actually
5 for
being...
3.
When
10
Dinesh
for 4.
Karthik came out,
Yeah,
got out.
got out.
No, came out. He scored a few runs, right? He scored a 25 odd.
Srivatsan saying, I will want us to play Australia rather than New Zealand. What's your guess, Cricklytics? After this wicket,
99-1.
you have to obviously allocate the 1% with Cricklytics.
98-1.
No, close. Actually, not
97.
close at all. 75-24. Do they think that Sri Lanka is going to pull out what he did against Australia?
Hasn't factored the last wicket yet.
No, it has. It has 5 for 3.
Sri Lanka playing a blunder here. Abbas, do you want to say blinder? But I think I would have my money on any of the blunders from Sri Lanka from here, not blinders.
5 for 3. Oh my God.
We thought 25 for 3 was bad when Sri Lanka
And now
We
won.
got 60 for 3.
That is
was
why
bad.
I was saying below 140. That is why.
And the thing is, Sri Lanka was potentially the other team who could go to that magical 8 points in this group, but now it doesn't look like it. And they should be really careful because net run rate is already kind of biting other teams in the backside, such as Australia. But New Zealand, dude, they have 1 foot already in the semis. I mean, unless something dramatic happens, but I don't think it will. But yeah, I think
England versus New Zealand will define England's fortune,
Yeah.
and I think Australia would be happier with this result because, like I said, they have just 2 easy games.
correct.
Potentially, on paper, they're easy games.
Yeah.
Against Afghanistan and Ireland.
And Afghanistan and Adelaide with the Adelaide striker, Mr. Rashid Khan himself. There's all these fascinating subplots. Now, here's my man, or here's the Punjab's king faithful, that is Barakar Rajpaksa. Shout out to Sri Lanka. Let's see if he comes to the party. But 5 for 3. Talk about great starts that Sri Lanka enjoyed with the ball, not so with the bat, unfortunately. That makes me think about what Som was doing on his Excel sheet yesterday, because we were waiting about this particular match to go out of the way so we can share you all the qualification scenarios and probabilities. So follow us on the Instagram where we will put out those probabilities. What is it looking now for Sri Lanka? They're still in it, but they still have to win big against Afghanistan.
They're still in it, but then they would want either Afghanistan or
But
Ireland
they
to beat
play
us.
England. But they play England.
Even if they win all of their games,
Yeah.
they would still want either of Ireland or Afghanistan to beat Australia, which in itself is a very big ask.
Huge ask.
So I think this game, Sri Lanka, and looks like it'll be. They'll need something very magical to win it from here. And
Was that Asia
curtains
Cup
for them.
win that they had
Yeah.
a flash in the pan?
No, it's not, because they keep doing this.
Yeah.
They keep showing up at tournaments where they look like, or even series, bilateral series, in them beating South Africa,
Yep,
them
5
beating
for 3.
England. You don't expect them to do it because they just show up as the underdog,
Yeah.
but somehow they manage to fight and win. So they've done it multiple times. They've done it too many times for us to say it's a flash in the pan.
Yeah, but I think that it's about the condition, right? Asia Cup conditions, and these conditions are like
Alien.
alien.
Yeah.
And it was always going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
Sri Lanka better to adapt to these conditions. That is what it has been. It's their bowling that has still kept them fighting. Has given them a fighting chance time and again.
Yeah, the spinners.
Especially Thixana. I mean, his overs up front.
That is true. Maybe they could have did they miss a trick there because Thixana came back to the back end?
It's not about missing tricks. I mean, I think they didn't do the basics right.
Yeah. Oh, like this also. Running between the wickets could have cost them. That would have been.
Imagine if Nisam would have hit it proper India wala match vibes.
Yeah.
Srivatsan going on to say, except the Glenn Phillips innings, his game has been a snooze fest.
But Glenn Phillips batted for 15 overs
Yeah,
in
so
that innings. So
104, I mean, great innings. And it could have literally been curtains for Sri Lanka if that hit the stumps, because Barakar Rajpaksa, if any, he's definitely going to be pinned upon the hopes for Sri Lanka. India should never play New Zealand at Adelaide, 36 off.
Abbas, apart from that 36 game, India have actually had a very good record in Adelaide, so I wouldn't mind that.
Especially the king, especially Virat.
back-to-back hundreds
Nice.
were at Adelaide.
Yeah, I think even
Maybe
Watchalong-
he can score 100 in that same final. We can finally have one stand named after him.
that will be something. 6 for 3. Now, how do they go about their business? Will they just see out Saudi and bowl? Probably be too late for them. 6 for 3, 2.4. You're kidding me.
I think they should just give the ball to Glenn Phillips. The day he's having, he just snapped 2-3 wickets as well. Sri Lanka batters might even just walk out and get stumped. Yeah, to tumhari din hai, bhai.
Oh god, but I really don't want this game to just not catch fire anymore and it just goes really pear-shaped for Sri Lanka.
Looks like we'll be disappointed.
It might be. And just the one game today on Saturday, so it might end up being a second innings snooze fest if Sri Lanka lose their 4th and 5th right now. But the drums are still going upon. Sri Lanka's energy with the fans are always there to see, whether you're playing in the Premadasa or this matter, the SCG. So Saudi, 1 for 1, 1.5, and it'll stay that way. Pretty much he's doing what Bhuvi did against Netherlands, just keeping it absolutely tight. Sometimes he gets painted with this line and length merchant fish. That's how he is. But it's effective. Why change what works for you, right?
I mean, it's the only thing he can do because he bowls at 125, 130.
Yeah.
He can't afford to be off his line and length. So that has to be a given for his style of bowling.
Yeah.
And in conditions where the ball doesn't move, Saudi goes for plenty.
Correct.
Like 9-10 runs and over. In conditions where it moves, his line and length thing helps him. Which is when he gets criticized. Because in conditions that are not helpful, you stick to your line and length, you become predictable and get hit, which he does quite often.
Yeah.
But he's handicapped by his pace. There's not that much else he can do. He doesn't have a great bouncer. He's not known for a great yorker. So he doesn't have too many variations that, can be effective in
So what is his USP then?
Line and length in conditions that suit him.
In a particular phase as well? He's not an all-phase bowler.
In conditions that suit him, I mean, there's no doubt that it's his best bowling is in the power play or top of the innings where the ball is moving.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, but he does bowl at the death as well.
Yeah, but then
It's
he
not-
sometimes bowl at the super over as well. So and that's when Rohit Sharma just
But no doubt that
Takes on.
power play is.
Yeah, if you guys know what the game Som's talking about, it was a brilliant one. Where does Saudi for you stand in terms of all the great bowlers that we see in this tournament? There's Hazelwood, there's Wood, there's Bhuvi, all of these guys.
he's the 4th best pacer in New Zealand.
One second, I didn't get that. 1 second. Saudi,
Locky,
Bold,
Trent.
Milne.
Oh, okay, yeah, so fine. Saudi. But in terms of world cricket right now, would you pick him over someone like a Bhuvi? No. Right?
Because Bhuvi is actually a quality death bowler as well. I mean, I
And
know
he
that
has
he's
yorker.
bowled a few 19th overs that have gone for runs,
That
but
is why India play a lot. Otherwise, his numbers, even the death is very good.
Fantasy points, you didn't have Glenn Phillips, did you? Oh my
You just
god,
stand
it's
no
going to be
chance
biting
today.
you hard. Then there's obviously all the other Sri Lankan bowlers.
I don't play daily fantasy. I play tournament fantasy, so the odd bad day is okay.
Yeah, we
Over a
got
period
Quick
of-
Crazy Nicks, who was part of the Watchalong, and he makes 11 teams every
Oh
game,
god.
which is quite ridiculous. And he says the investment that he has.
Oh,
Oh,
God!
God, another one!
This
This is ridiculous.
This is even worse than India.
Bro,
India
this
was
is
89 for 4.
resembling the 2019 semi-final
And
in India,
obviously, yeah.
and where they were 3 down. I think Karthik was the 4th one to be dismissed in a similar manner at point as well.
So
Oh, great catch at point.
Yeah,
We
we
were
should-
just discussing. So then it was him who got out at 10 for
Yeah,
4.
and then number 5 was, I think, Pant played that game.
Yeah, Pant played that game. And Pant also was just absolutely shocking in that game. And then Jadeja.
Who took the catch? Was that Philippines? No.
Phil Allen. Wow. Bolt's actually a good shout to be top wicket taker for the World Cup. I feel like an idiot after saying this was an easy chase. How can you be this bad when it matters a lot? Srivatsan, honestly, I think lots of people are asking that same question in various parts of Sri Lanka, let alone otherwise. I think even Russell might be saying something on air. Abbas could be saying, Kya yaar? Abbas, bro, we're all in the same ship, boat, whatever you want to call it, is you.
Yeah,
because-
guys, we gave our Saturday for this.
Yeah, and we wanted to have Sri Lanka like really throw the cat amongst the pigeons, but it wasn't to be. Is there still a glimmer of hope if Sri Lanka win this?
Why are you talking like a proper India and RCB fan? Even a glimmer of hope. What glimmer of hope? I have the like Jayasuriya coming at 6 and Ravinder De Silva coming at
Actually, I
7.
want to discuss now an international team who's 4 wickets down at whatever they are, 10 or whatever it is.
Who's the best?
And no, at what point does the team start thinking this is not winnable?
Yeah.
But we need to make sure run rate is decent. So let's
Dhoni.
get to 120.
Dhoni, abhi aayega. If Dhoni would have walked from this situation, he would have been 8 of 22 balls, and then aakhri kuch over maar ke, he would finish up at 40 ball 40.
But that's what you want now. Now, I
What
don't
is
know.
it?
I mean, I don't know as a Sri Lanka fan, what a Sri Lanka fan would say. As a neutral, I am at this point, Sri Lanka has no chance of winning this match. make sure you're not out of the tournament by this match. Because if you're
But they are out of the tournament. I mean, even a 40 or 40 from here is not going to help their run rate anyway.
If they can get to 125 type,
They
125, that's the whole point.
For even 125, they need to score at 8 and over for the next 16 overs.
Man, it's a
Do
tough
they need 8
ask.
and over? Yeah, they do need.
But with New Zealand spinners doing what they do, I can't see that happening. I honestly think they might just like fold faster than we think they might. Let us know in the comments below what Sri Lanka will end up with, because I know Bhanuka Rajpaksa is still out there. Chavika Karatne's got a slight promotion compared to Shanaka and Hasaranga still in the hut, but still Bolt has it on. Honestly, it's like he's bowling with a yo-yo. He just has it in his hand. 3 for 7 is 2. Even in the Australia game, we saw him come to the party in the power play. Dude, it's just like, why would we asked Glenn and Michael whether Saudi and Bolt will not be there in 2024. But the looks of things, he can play for another 1 or 2 years.
He can play. He's making a choice to dial it down. Yeah. Let's discuss another. At this stage of
What are they doing? Sri Lanka are literally a deer in front of the headlights.
In this kind of situation, if you had to pick 2 batsmen who you want at the crease,
From
to
Sri
give
Lanka
yourself an outside chance to win this match.
Anyone in world cricket?
Anyone in the world. 2 batsmen.
Kohli and Hardik.
Kohli.
Kohli and Hardik.
Hardik.
Kohli and Hardik, dude.
Yeah, 100%.
With Dhoni's T20 numbers, he's not even in my top 25.
Yeah,
Kohli and Hardik is a good shout. Surya, I mean, also I would put in there as a batsman. I want in this situation.
Steve Smith, Kane Williamson. Kane Williamson, Joe Root. Steve Smith, Joe Root.
I would say maybe
AB.
Yeah.
AB. I'd want AB in the situation.
Yeah,
Nah, not
AB
really.
Miller.
I think.
No, don't think today's AB. I'm
Yeah.
saying AB at his peak.
I think AB at his peak, I would take AB the first innings guy. I would never trust AB the second innings. The second innings has to be Kohli. AB, he might still score a few hundred, but there is a rash shot coming from
AB and
for
Kohli
sure.
as opposed to Hardik and Kohli. AB and Kohli.
I would take current Hardik and Kohli because
You think-
Hardik is in that frame of mind.
Who are the other? Just throw up some names. Who are the other guys who we think could do this job?
I would say AB and Miller. AB and Miller.
Miller, yeah, is in there with the shout for sure.
I would say if Warner was still at the crease, would say someone like Stoinis.
I would actually take Kohli and Stokes.
Kohli and
Stokes is a good shout as well.
Very good shot, actually. Stokes is.
Butler is a good decent shout, I would think. I mean,
But
I
Butler
don't-
again falls
I
on an
don't-
AB ambit where they have a one chink in the armor. And AB, I mean, no offense, can probably see off the spaces.
I would take Stokes because he actually tends to be lucky in these situations as well. I mean, that's a very big part of our sport. I mean, luck is a very big part of
no
anyone's
doubt,
life.
no doubt.
And with Stokes, he tends to be lucky in these situations. We've seen time and time again.
But so if you're
Russell, you got to give Russell a shout in this situation. He can score 60 or 20.
yeah, but not necessarily he's got to pull it out. That's like 2 in 10 games. I
But
feel.
Yeah,
all of us
but
are
this is a
aligned on
2 in 10
Kohli, right?
games.
All of us are aligned on Kohli. We just have to pick the second batter.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
See, you want one Kohli-like batsman who will keep his head till the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you say Kohli and Sky?
I think I'm leaning towards Kohli and AB. Kohli and AB at his peak is what I'm leaning towards.
Can't wait for people on commentary to go on about how players' basics are wrong and now they have reason to justify their approach. Yep. I think they're already mentioning it.
Okay. It's a left wing choice. I would say Kohli and Pollard will also be a.
Not a bad choice.
Yeah.
We're talking about players in that peak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, finally, a little bit of Jayasuriya. Yes, that.
Six.
Woo, that's the flattest 6 in World Cup T20 history, I guess. Wow.
Nobody can disprove you. Just say what you want.
But 1 second, it's almost like Bolt's done, Saudi's done, then you have Lockie Ferguson just coming in at you. Honestly, like, how does Sri Lanka get out of this mess they find themselves
Kohli
in?
and Bhanuka.
But now, Bish, coming back to Som's point, what's to lose, dude? Just go for it. Whether you're being bowled out for 40 or 80, it's going to be a stinging win. And
No, between 40 and 125, there's a difference. If you can get to 125, you stay in this tournament.
Yeah.
Hoping that other teams lose matches
Shot.
and go away, whatever.
Rajpaksa, are we seeing something which is going to be sensational? Come on, light up
For
the
last
Saturday
2 more balls,
afternoon.
wait for it.
Yeah, it reminds me of Jayasuriya in respect. Says absolutely, especially when he played one of those knocks against Australia in the twilight of his career where he was playing Bracken and Lee. That shot over point was just reminiscent of Jayasuriya.
You know what this over is ensured? Kane Williamson will have to go to Bolt for one more over. Otherwise, he would have given it to Daryl Mitchell or someone. But I think Bolt is bowling the next over now.
Ferguson, will he be carted again? Good comeback. So Rajpaksa, at least doing some things right. Remember, Sri Lanka had the record of getting both the lowest power play scores with the ball in hand, 23 was for 4 against UAE, and then today 25 for 3. But they might beat their own record by the looks of it. 19 for 4 after 5. Chamika, Kararatne, never really seen him get on with it. Shanaka, obviously, that Australia innings and that chase sticks out in my mind. But again, home conditions and Hasaranga, so nothing really to choose from.
Do you think Sri Lanka is a unique team in terms of all of them just going with their first names?
Maybe.
At the back of their jersey as well.
Bhanuka, Chamika.
Is that not common?
Dasun.
Everyone has their last name, right?
Yeah, Kusal.
Literally everyone have their last name.
For
Except
India? Doesn't Rohit have Rohit?
But because his last name is like almost 10% India's last name, that's why.
How do you see Sri Lanka's team after Silvu became coach? For me, they look at a different team after him. We spoke about this, I think, after the Asia Cup.
They've started looking a lot like England with that variable numbers combination.
And all that. Expensive first over from Lockie Ferguson. How much will he go for? Just 12. Speaking about batters who can come in the situation, what about Glenn Phillips and Darren Mitchell? They bailed themselves out in a similar situation as well.
But let's talk about batters who won't need assistance from drop catches too.
Yeah. Ab khel ke kya hoga? They are done for this World Cup. Do not count your chickens before they hatch, is what I would say. Oh, now
eggs,
eggs. But yeah, do you think that's the right call? Do you think it's already done, this game?
As a neutral, you have to see this and say it's done.
As a RCB fan, maybe
we won't be looking at the camera like for half an hour's time saying miracle. Could be. I mean, Rajpaksa has to play one of the World Cup blinders to get his team across the line.
Rajpaksa looked like Jayasurya. Where is the real junior Jayasurya? Pereira.
He was an absolute brilliant addition to the Sri Lanka team. He was honestly brilliant. One of those guys.
He's still in the test team?
I think.
Or no?
I think he should still be after that, what he did against South Africa in South Africa.
There was one more player who used to bat exactly like this. I'm just forgetting his name. He was sort of an all-rounder as well. I think Anirudh Suresh, if he's listening to us, he would know the name.
Of Sri Lanka, like
in
the last 5 years.
Yeah,
let us know. Shehan Jayasuriya?
No.
Proper Jayasuriya reminiscence. Viewers, let us know as well. 20 for 4. Are they going to hold spin back with Rajpaksa still there? Just bowl out your pacers? Why take a chance?
Bolt is already bowling his third over.
He might bowl his fourth after this. You never know. Last over the power play. 21 for 4. Sri Lanka have another 5 runs to save themselves to not be the worst. Or 2 runs, rather.
I think the venues have also assisted New Zealand a bit. This is that back-to-back games at SCG. And if they top the group, they'll, I think, play their semis as well as at the SCG.
Wow.
They just went for a field trip to Melbourne, didn't play anything. Came back to Sydney.
Yeah, no point taking that flight. India have taken a long flight from Sydney to Perth, and you guys can join us for that India-South Africa watch-along. It's a 4:30 one. So hopefully 4:30 games will go as good. Asela Gunaratne. Is it?
Don't think that's the name. It was someone else.
Yeah, maybe.
Wasn't Asela Gunaratne a right-hander?
Was he?
I don't know.
I think a lot of Sri Lankan young cricketers have modeled their game over Jayasuriya because of what he's achieved. But right now, what the doctor rather has ordered for Sri Lanka is a little bit of consolidating out there in the middle bish. Similar, taking a page from what Mitchell and Glenn Phillips did.
Yeah, but they've lost 1 extra wicket and they don't have the batting power that New Zealand have.
That is true. But how do you expect them to play it from here, especially once the fielders kind of have their breathing space and all that? Do you think they'll play it like a Dhoni?
Once the power play is over, New Zealand still need to keep all the fielders in and keep the pressure on. There's no reason for them to spread the field just because power play is over.
True.
Because even if they hit 4s and 6s, winning is still very, very hard. So I would keep the pressure on as a New Zealand captain.
Yeah, still 147 of 16, and the math serves you right. That's probably 9+ already, with 2 balls to go in the power play. Oh, that's a heave-ho, and he's probably got his first boundary here. Chavika Kararatne.
They've escaped the...
Oh, they haven't. Sorry, it's a long part of the boundary. That
is the 89 meter boundary.
That is the 89 meter boundary. So Sri Lanka at least not got the worst power play score in this year's World Cup. It still remains UAE. 23 for 4 it was, as Statsman Ani told us earlier. Right now, will New Zealand kind of stick with that 2 spinners ploy is what I want to know. look at the paces. He just mentioned Adam Milne as well. He's not even playing this game. Is that a case? I know they played 2 games in Sydney, but if the venues change, will they do what South Africa do?
They certainly won't play 2 spinners at Perth or Gabba. I mean, it won't happen.
Right, so 24 for 4 after 6 overs. Remember this score, because if Sri Lanka do produce that miracle, we'll all come back saying, remember when they were 24 for 4?
It's 1 run less and 1 wicket more than New Zealand were at the same stage.
Yeah.
Anirudh Kasaragod was saying right hand, dibbly-dobbly, medium pace and a middle order right. Oh, yeah, that is. I mean, that I thought you were depicting Daryl Mitchell there, to be fair.
Myself.
Yeah. Dibbly-dobbly was one of Jeff Boycott's favorite words to describe very often a New Zealand Chris Harris.
Yeah.
He was often referred to as dibbly-dobbly.
How do you guys describe it? I mean, Ganguly used to keep saying on comms when he was a commentator, remember that time? Military medium, pedestrian pace. A guy just...
Vinay Kumar.
You can't say that in Bangalore. Is it he's
What are we calling him here? What Express is he? He's some Express. What Express?
Oh wait, I know this. I know this.
Not Belgaum.
Oh, Belgaum.
Samjhauta Express.
This
Kaveri Express.
Belgavi Express?
Is it Belgaum?
Anirudh knows this. Anirudh Kasaragod, I know you're watching. Vinay Kumar was known as what? Express. Oh, they're going off his spin straight away, and it's straight to the man. Shamika Karatne's horrible 8-ball 3 comes to an end, and it's that man again, Mitchell Santner, who comes in and does what he does. Davangere Express. Thank you, Anirudh. Thank you.
This is, I think, borderline idiotic batting, to be honest. See, I mean, just give the strike to Rajapaksa. He'll take down the matchup.
No, I mean, as brutal as Som was there, he's spot on. Like, why? You're 4 down and
this is your, this is not your matchup.
Yeah.
Ideally, it is meant for Rajapaksa to take Santner down. Why would you do that?
Bro, I made up my mind. Karatne is not a all-rounder. He's just a bowler. He's just a bowler. Sorry, I've never seen him bat. Sorry, Chamika.
But he's not even a bowler.
He's still more of an all-rounder than
no balls.
He's a passenger. He's just a passenger.
He's a celebrator. Against Bangladesh, Nagin comes out proper.
Yeah.
Which is quite ridiculous. Look, when
he still bats higher and bowls more than Shanaka.
It's just quite ridiculous. Shanaka likes playing that Pollard role. Be like, yeah.
No, the Dhoni role. Sab jao, phir main aunga end mein.
Let's see if Shanaka features in the crossword. We'll bring that back on the screens before we get to see another Sri Lankan batsman depart. Just joking. Crossword time. Shanak, are you eating lunch? Are you not paying attention to us? Are you actually eating lunch, Shanak? Okay, here he goes. Yeah, so number 3.
Start putting some of the answers.
Number 3, so basically I think Introspect got it right. He said Dharanjaya's name, so spot on. So that was 3 down, and that means A is a second letter of 9 across. Can we have the next clue, please, before we see Santner do more damage? Shanak?
The next clue. We've already given out these clues. Oh, 2 together.
Okay, 2 together. Hit a 6 to win the 2014 T20 World Cup for Sri Lanka. I know this. Oh, edged! And Shanaka, the captain, gets off the mark with a little streaky boundary. Number 4 down is what we're looking for right now. I know it. His initials are TP. It's a very common Sri Lanka name. It's a very common Brazilian name. Goan name. Yeah. Portuguese name. It's a very common first Sri Lanka name.
Have you seen that movie?
No, what is he featured? Oh, yeah.
Hey, we gave out one more clue.
No, it's not a Janta Mendes. Srivatsan, good attempt.
Hey, how is that a good attempt?
Yeah.
Be honest.
There we go. Srivatsan corrects himself initially. It is the Sarah Pereira. And I remember those visuals quite vividly, actually. Pumping Ashwin down the ground it was to win it.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, can we go back to the crossword? We actually gave out one more clue.
We gave out 2 6-1s. 2 6-1s in T20
2 6-1s. I think 2 6-1s ka answer tha, what Srivatsan gave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
2 6-1s in
T20
is
Mendes, actually. Sorry, I take that back.
Yeah, it is the Vice Tiksena senior.
So 7 across. So that means, what did he guess?
2 6-1s in T20.
2 6-1s.
And he went for?
Ajanta Mendes.
Oh, so he went for Mendes. So, okay, that's Mendis. So N being 3 down, which would be fascinating. Oh yeah, so 3 down is what is it? Dhananjay. Has to be Dhananjay.
Yeah, it is Dhananjay.
Dhananjay. So look, we've got pretty much all the answers, but we have so many more clues, and it's going to be
I
fascinating.
thought John High's wicketing initially was Malinga, but I guess it's all good.
There'll be Malinga somewhere. I'm sure these guys have had it strategically placed that way. Meanwhile, this is the matchup that Somu was intending to, but no problem whatsoever. Where should we write all our answers? I'm looking at
Srivatsan is doing a wonderful job.
Just keep noting them down, Jagmeet. You can just send all of them through once we give out the last clue.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it. Just keep all your stuff ready. We'll keep flashing the crossword on. And this is just a way to like get more interactive with you guys. So
Yeah.
obviously feel free to shout out even randomly at parts of the show when the crossword doesn't feature. We'll try to make sense of it.
And if you forget to give out a clue, just you can comment and give out the next clue.
Yeah, what are you guys doing and all of that? 30 for 5, 7-0 was gone. Sodhi to come in because I think one of the points that
It doesn't matter who
doesn't
does
matter.
it.
Kane
Phillips, please.
Kane actually is a good matchup here for one.
It
It feels like Soames is like, what have I done on a Saturday? We should have just chilling, honestly. But look, we want to do the England-Australia game, and that was a dagger to our hearts because of the weather gods. But unfortunately, we thought this one, when we were doing the permutation combinations yesterday, Bish, we were getting excited about this class, saying, oh my God, Sri Lanka could really throw the spanner amongst the works. But now, I mean, New Zealand, literally. Ah, there we go.
There is Akash's man.
There is Akash. Literally.
And
And straight away, we
Matchup.
see the matchups coming in. But honestly, even you could have done 6. That's a dag done.
32 for 5 के बाद भी छक्का खा रहा बताओ. Akash,
Akash, oi!
say something in his defense.
Akash Sivasubramaniam, get on wherever you are right now. You must be having your spinach papu. Oh, actually, it's 4, so you must have been assimilating it
Filter
right now.
coffee.
Yeah, filter coffee. But Sodhi conceding 6 of his very first ball, and this is going to be interesting. Very interesting because Sri Lanka, New Zealand, how many bowling options do they have? Well, they have
6.
Mitchell, they have
7.
Williamson,
Nisham bhi hai. They don't have to bowl spin actually.
Yeah. The first thing New Zealand has done wrong in this field. Nimish Juneja, I think it's going to be New Zealand versus South Africa at Sydney, semi-1. India versus Australia at Adelaide, semi-2.
Yeah.
God, do we really
good
want to
shout.
face
Good shout.
Australia
And New Zealand,
in Australia?
Yeah, but if you have to win the World Cup, you'll have to face. I mean, किसी को तो face करना पड़ेगा. New Zealand, Australia, क्या Ireland पहुंच जाएगी ऐसे. बहुत सकती है.
After all, Balbani is the informed captain of the tournament.
Yeah, what if Ireland reaches semis and they actually beat India?
Oh my God.
2003.
Oh yes, no.
Where are you going, Bhanu? Where are you going? Bhanu?
No, not now.
Now he says no.
This is where I'm trying to.
To Harsha.
Where are you going, Badu?
Nawaz, what have you done, Nawaz? And even the next ball, he said, Nawaz, what do you have?
So one second, if Sri Lanka lose this, Afghanistan potentially can overtake them without actually playing a match in the tournament. No, they played one. They played one against England in Perth. And
Yeah, that was also a close game, and their fielding actually let them down.
Yeah.
If they had scored like 10 more runs and fielded better, they would have won that game.
Yeah, true. Afghanistan still have to play Sri Lanka, remember, and England. Sorry, not England. Australia. So that'll be a good one to watch.
Stoinis is already prepping himself, eating all the proteins for countering Rashid and Mujib.
Man, Stoinis was on fire that
If
day.
only Afghanistan had 2 decent batsmen,
Right.
they would really be a force to reckon with.
They have two decent batters in
Rahmanullah
Gurbaz and
yeah.
Najibullah. No, Najibullah.
Okay, yeah.
But not made for these conditions.
Oh, he's got 4 more here. This could be a Rajpaksa show. 42 for 5.
They need guys like the wicketkeeper batsman they had. The big guy, I forget his name.
Mohammad Shahzad.
Mohammad Shahzad.
Yeah, Mohammad Shahzad.
A couple like that who can really change the game.
Fearless.
Yeah.
Where was he?
Arijit Singh lookalike.
Is he being suspended? Or
He was suspended. I think that's over though.
it's just like,
He was suspended by the Afghanistan government. I don't know what the Taliban
wow, we're not
What
going
is-
there.
his equation there.
I don't want to go there. Not to come, essentially.
You don't want to go to the topic.
The conversation.
He wants to live.
I want to live. Right, so Sodhi and Ferguson actually being the only poll so far, the New Zealand bowling so far today. Well, look, that can happen if two of your bowlers are actually doing well. And I'll probably throw three with Satna also getting a wicket. So 43 for 5, 8 overs gone. Sri Lanka have a lot of heavy lifting to do. And we're running the crossword again. So we'll get back to it. Every time we feel there's a little bit of a dip, we'll go back to the crossword. Shonak, what do we have for us? The next clue. Yeah. Done. And before we take the crossword, just bring us back on the screens because it's 4 o'clock now. And I think Bishan promised his time to us. So Bish, really appreciate your time on the watch along.
My pleasure.
Hopefully we'll get you for
My
more
pleasure.
watch alongs as well.
Absolutely.
Fantastic insights. Great call with New Zealand winning big, even though you're here, even though they haven't won big. But always good to get Bishan and Jasant on with us. And we'll leave it there. Hopefully, Shubh, you're watching this, so that's your call to join us right now. Bish, thank you so much.
Bye.
And we will see you soon, my friend. So Bishan says goodbye, but not to forget his car keys. Yes. Which he's taken. Shubh, it's a kind reminder, my friend, for you to come on. Because little Shubhi, we've kind of got the name also done over here. Going back to the crossword, Som, I know that you know some of the answers, but let's play for fun with the next clue. Let's have the next clue, lads. What do we have? Yeah, we took 4 down, which was the Serra Pereira.
Next one.
2 6-ers in T20 International, you know that as well. Bagged the first ever T20 International wicket.
Oh, it has to be a Kiwi. Because it was the first ever T20 was between Australia and New Zealand.
Oh, yes.
Eden up.
So
What is the question?
who took the first ever T20 International wicket in that match?
Match देखा तो नहीं था.
Bennett?
No, 2005 Englishman.
Ten.
So
Oden?
back
Oh,
the first ever.
So one second, it's 4
down.
across. So it's a 6-letter name.
Could be Chris King. He played that.
Again, a good shout. Tuffy?
वो आपके कौन वाला दिखता? इसका ट्रफी था.
Duffy.
ट्रफी नाम का कोई तो कहीं से दिखता था.
The match इतना boring है. We are exploring Duffy नाम का कुत्ता किस बोले मुझे नहीं पता.
Man, but it might just be lit up by Rajpaksa. So
Let us know in the comments. Tuffy was the name of the dog in which Bollywood movie?
yeah, actually, that's a good one. For all you Hindi movie fans and cricket fans. Meanwhile, Satna bowling. कुछ हो पाएगा?
भाई बहुत you just cannot lose that many wickets up top.
But will we see a Nana Patekar from Welcome? Will we?
See, miracles, you cannot predict miracles, but I just feel it is too tough, though they have 2 batters out there. Bhanuka can bat, we all know. Shanaka has been in good form this year. But
Tuffy only now. Yeah, Shivatsan watching in the movies more than Som.
he's answering for
He's
the
answering
question.
actually Tuffy.
Oh, Tuffy is the crossword. Sorry, Shivatsan. Sorry, just didn't carry
That
that.
was Tuffy.
But yeah, you can't predict this game. But can you predict if I'm going to throw you some Doraemon memes? We'll be slandered.
Oh man, the more interesting this
Photo beta. If you guys know, you know. Oh my god, my Instagram's been corrupted with Doraemon memes. Good grief. Thanks to these guys only.
These guys think this guy.
This guy polluted me and then I've just polluted these two in turn. पूरा जंगल को आग लगा दी.
पटाखे की दुकान में चिंगारी दिखाई तुमने.
Okay, the halfway mark, New Zealand were 54 for 3 after 10. Sri Lanka thereabouts, they've lost 2 more wickets. Hasaranga still in the hut. I'm actually
They need a
thinking.
60-70 run stand right now.
Can they take a page out of Mitchell and Phillips?
Yeah, they can. I mean, you need a 60-70 run stand. Both of these are completely capable of doing that. And since Rajapaksa is batting, if that partnership comes with Rajapaksa in the middle, you know it is going to come in a quick time. So the asking rate will be under control, I feel, and then it will be left to Hasaranga and whichever the other batter is left. So I mean, they cannot afford to lose more than 1 wicket here in this whole run chase, I feel.
So they're obviously going to the cleaners in that first 12. And Williamson bringing back Ferguson, who also went for 12, funnily enough, but obviously pace doubles Rajpaksa more than Sodhi. Good move. How do you expect Bhanuka Rajpaksa to play this guy off? Because we all saw what you reacted for Chamika Karatne's wicket.
Yeah, but they need 10 and over. So, see, the thing is, New Zealand don't really have to bowl spin, so they might not even go back to any of them because they have Nisham, like I said.
Oh yeah,
So they have to-
Nisham, Mitchell.
Now, I mean, if there is a ball to be hit, he has to hit. And Sri Lanka only have Hasaranga after this.
Yeah, only Hasaranga.
And I'm yet to see a misfield or a drop catch from New Zealand, by the way. As a
No, misfield we saw of Santner. One rarity.
Santner का चलता है.
Yeah. No, Santner is still safe. Win or lose, we party.
Santner is
Habibi
the
come to
only
Sri Lanka.
Kiwi cricketer who doesn't do the basics. आखिरी बॉल में बाई का मना किया था.
Win or lose, we party. I think they should change it. Win or lose on the booze.
Win or lose, we party. They're talking like the people who used to run the country a few months back.
Maybe that's just a tourism banner.
Yeah.
With the crisis the country is seeing, and obviously no jokes with that. But look, still good to see Sri Lankan fans in the crowd. In fact, I was talking to Shub about this in office the other day. We talk about cricketing sounds across the world. What's your favorite cricketing sound, so? Sri Lanka's na 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 na, or the West Indies wala. Like, you know, when you're watching a game in Pevadas and stuff, you expect those things to go off. And then you see West Indies also like proper.
And England, you see clapping.
Yeah.
Sweet Caroline, bhai.
And then and Australia, obviously you'll see different things. India will be like India. So,
India में तो random boo-boos लगे और
Yeah.
Beep, beep, beep.
and then you just see like the bloody Hotstar also, like the way they've just got like all the crowds synced in. Do you think Sri Lanka is one of the best atmospheres in the world in terms of watching cricket there? Especially in the era that we grew up watching it in.
In terms of
Murli getting wickets and then dancing in the aisles.
yeah, I mean that is nice, but it was I like England and Australia as well. Once a few drinks are down.
Shot, yaar.
Short, yeah.
Short, yeah. Few drinks are down, stop. Like England Ashes Test at Jerusalem when they played is great. Sweet Caroline when he says, but Sweet Caroline, like I think even South Africa, Sri Lanka. South Africa, New Zealand. Sri Lanka would be funny to use it. Sweet Caroline. Can you imagine Russell Arnold singing that? Sorry guys, if you guys think we're absolutely jobless right now, come on.
So because we are.
Yeah, right now, I mean, the game's kind of drifting away, but Rajpaksa is keeping it alive. He's that little chingari that we're talking
Okay,
about.
just a random trivia.
He's doing this without any help from KBP.
Okay.
Go on.
That's fine, right, Philip. But yeah, random trivia. So we know Daryl Tuffy was the first man to take a wicket in T20Is. Who's the first man to concede 50 runs in T20Is?
Good question. And is that a New Zealander? Or is that
No,
anyone
I
world
won't
cricket?
give you that hint.
Glenn McGrath.
Huh?
Glenn McGrath.
So I see that.
Ooh la 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 leo. Ooh la 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 la. Oh, shot, man.
नहीं, this could be out.
Oh, he's gone.
It hit
He's
him high
gone.
on
It's
the
a
bat.
slow ball.
कहीं नहीं थी ball कहीं पे यार.
Was it a slow ball?
No, 146
Holy
kph,
shit, so just beat
91
it for pace.
mph.
And there goes Sri Lanka limping out of the
हो गया भाई,
T20
अब हो
World
गया,
Cup.
अब नहीं हो पाएगा.
World Cup, sir.
Yeah, of
They
course.
needed to win this game.
They need to win this game, and now they are struggling at run rate.
And now we are confirmed that one amongst Australia or England will bow out in the Super 12
I mean,
stage, which is a
not
big
numerically
thing.
confirmed because
But,
New Zealand,
almost,
New Zealand can
nearly.
still lose to Ireland.
So Sri Lanka can only get to 6 now.
6 now.
Wow.
Okay, by the way, going back to my question, do you guys still want to keep guessing?
50 runs. 1 second. We'll put it out to this thing. Khatam, tata, bye.
Ratan Tata, exactly. That was my reaction and Bhanuka's.
आवाज भाई आज तो सऊदी की जरूरत भी नहीं पड़ी.
Yeah, honestly. 1 sec. Shub's given us some trivia here. There is no need to bring in excitement and run to give someone say stop. Come on, for you guys. We love you and all the viewers at cricket.com. We have to keep ourselves entertained right now. Coming back to Shub's little trivia game. He asked us, we know that Tuffy is the first man to claim the first ever T20 international wicket, but who was the first bowler who could see 50 runs in
In a T20 international, the hint is already there. मैंने ये बोल दिया है, so it is very, very easy.
The
now.
hint is already there,
The
but
hint is already there when you narrated that question. So
oh, in the first ever T20. Oh, Ponting Taylor tha bhai uske
98
लिए.
not out.
Is it Jacob Oren?
No, I don't think he played.
Chris Gaines.
No. ठीक है, अब हो गया. Should I answer?
No, just one more clue. Come on.
Clue already है भाई, मैं और उससे आगे पीछे clue नहीं दे सकता.
Kyle Mills.
No, he closed 44 runs he conceded in that game.
Wait, one more shot. Please don't. Oren.
Oram did not play that game. I feel yes, he did not.
So it's a pacer.
It is a pacer.
अबे टफी तो नहीं था कि विकेट भी ले
Tuffy
गया.
tha, bhai, Tuffy
That
tha.
was the hint. That was
That
the
was
hint.
the hint.
So the question, that was the trick.
Srivatsan has got it. Srivatsan, well done, bro. Honestly.
Srivatsan scorecard दिखा तुमने ना.
The full scorecard. Interesting.
But that was the trick in the question because we had already said Daryl Tuffy while putting up the question. That is why I said, ki, हाँ.
Yeah, one of those
Already
strange
you
T20 records, the fact that he's got his name in the record books for the first
First
wicket,
wicket,
but
but
also 50
conceded
runs.
50 runs in that game as well.
It's bittersweet for Daryl Tuffy. Right, so what are Sri Lanka going to get to right now? Can we just end the watch along, honestly?
Not too
Yeah,
bad.
not bad.
Should we end the watch along now? Or do you want to see us continue? Let us know in the comments below. We want to do it. What do you guys think?
We
If
want
I
to do
just-
it, and for that we need some good strokes from the Sri Lankan batter. थोड़ी सी excitement आया. This is
Yeah.
not going one way.
So now what? Hasaranga and Shanaka.
Yeah.
Two capable characters, but even 168 is a mirage for them. Even on their best days, if I tell you right now, they're both at their peak, would you still put money
Who
on
are
them?
they?
Shanaka. And we saw what he did against Australia when they needed
Hazelwood को मारना आसान नहीं
18
है
balls,
भाई.
59 no that.
Yeah.
And Hasaranga. In their peaks also, they won't be able to chase the target, bro.
यही तो उनका पीक है भाई. अभी पीक चल रहा है.
I mean,
Oh, God.
थोड़ा insult नहीं करना चाहता, but yeah, बहुत ज़्यादा दूर है target. Again, you just cannot afford to lose that.
Sorry, is any team being bowled under 100 this tournament so far? No, right?
99. Sri Lanka got out for 99 against Namibia, right?
Really?
Maybe yeah. Like, I don't remember the.
भाई
Really?
100 के नीचे out तो हुआ है.
मजाक मत
नहीं,
करो
100 के
भाई.
नीचे all out हुई है कोई team.
I remember New Zealand themselves got up for exactly 100 in a warm-up game
That
preceding this
doesn't count.
tournament, but
वो
that
तो
doesn't count.
उन्होंने वो बना दिया. तो हम अभी बोल नहीं
That is
सकते.
the
But
biggest trick actually.
That was their biggest trick, actually.
हमेशा.
the greatest trick devil ever played.
Man, when we talk about Indian guys and most of the world cricketers using SS bats, what is with Sri Lanka's batsman uses SF or just no brand? Sad. Absolutely sad. And I think there was another tweet.
You're talking about that. Michael Clark scored 329 with no sponsor on his bat.
And that came against
India.
329 not out.
This
high.
very ground.
Salah.
This ground पे रुला
But
दिया
that was a
भाई.
Dhoni era where we let bloody emotions flow in a test match.
भाई उस मैच पे कोई इमोशन था नहीं. मैं सुबह उठा देखा स्कोर क्या है. सो
फिर सो
गया.
गया.
फिर मैं उठा तब exactly the same two batters were batting, Ponting and Clark. Ponting out हुआ after a 250 run stand. हंसी आया. There was a 300 run stand. Oh,
Bro,
my
I remember
God.
this similar, but in New Zealand. You remember when McCallum scored 300 against us, and then even DJ Watling
DJ Watling.
and Dhoni in the stump pipe saying, "ये पुजारा इधर नहीं रखा है ताली बजाने के लिए," or whatever. And I was just like, "Wow, he's taking the piss." In that same game, I think Zahir Khan conceded 4, or Ishan conceded 4, and then he was like, you know.
अच्छी वाली bowling के साथ कुछ गलत कर रहा है ये.
Did you like that? Did you like Ashish Nehra giving Dhoni the drop? Let us know in the comments below.
ये कैच नहीं पकड़ते यार.
कैच पकड़ते नहीं और बोलते मैच जीता.
Best की आँख? Best की आँख, right?
Oh.
भैंस की आंख
It's like
हमारी.
Ahmedabad wicket.
Well, we've seen some great stump mic stuff as well. Santner just doing stuff that he does. And Sri Lanka, honestly, I think
Santner doing stuff.
that he just does, bro. Comes in, bowls, leaves. What's the point, honestly?
What's the point of existing at the moment?
Except when he is with CSK, he just warms the bench.
Yeah. CSK, I think one whole season they bought him to strategically not give him
भाई
the
CSK ने बहुत प्लेयर्स को पूरा सीजन बेंच कराया है. They bought इरफान पठान
Sai
पूरा
Kishore,
सीजन
भाई.
बैठा हुआ था.
Sai
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 Kishore.
Kishore and मैं तो नाम भी भूल गया वो अंडर 19 वाले बंदे का.
कौन?
Is this season?
Oh,
अच्छा, वो
Hunger
Hunger
Games.
Games.
Hunger Games.
Yeah. So clever from Kane, but you expect that. Bringing Sodhi back once this left-hander is gone. So now, definitely Shanaka has to produce a miracle. He said, well, they're happy chasing, but obviously they're far from anything being happy. And New Zealand, bro, imagine you ended and something amazing happens. That's what we don't want to. We don't want to, Srivatsan.
Bro,
There's
imagine-
always light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, that we have actually suffered that because we covered the India Netherlands game, but उसके बाद जो हुआ पाकिस्तान जिम्बाब्वे मैच में, and we missed out on that.
Abbas Kundi saying Sodhi becomes Gangadhar in front of other team except India and Australia. What's a which reference is this? So
Gangadhar
many.
ही शक्तिमान है.
Oh!
So in our school time, we used to go to our friends and said, "भाई एक राज की बात बतानी है कान में जाके भाई कन्नोदरी शक्ति such a silly thing to do that."
Oh God. Yeah, thanks Abbas for that cheeky comment. Oh God. 64 for 6, 11.3. I asked you about earlier who's scored the lowest tournament score so far. It is Sri Lanka.
No, it is UAE 73. But if you count
Qualifiers.
playing nations, Lanka actually got out for 108 against Namibia.
Shit. 108.
This tournament
Are
actually
they
started
reaching
with
a
Gone.
Doesn't look
Okay,
good.
let's end it. Honestly, let's end it. 64 for 7. It's a joke.
I think we still have Dan to join us.
Oh,
because
yes.
we were expecting this to be a good game.
Oh my God, Dan's gonna be having.
Guys, if you have
something
any
to say.
question, not just this game, overall, any question
For Dan Weston, please ask us. Apart from the UAE 73 against Sri Lanka qualifier, no team has been all out under 100. Yeah, true. So Kane duly accepting that. And 7 down Sri Lanka, so it's curtains for the Asian champions. Dan Weston's a very good point that Soames mentioned. Hopefully we can get him on earlier and then we can take a call from there. He's just going to get a breather. End it now. Srivatsan will end it. But look, before that, you know who Dan Weston is. He's one of the finest minds in T20 cricket. I don't know if you've seen our show, Wrong Ones with Weston. So feel free in the comments below about what you want to ask Dan particularly. It could be about the India-South Africa game tomorrow. It could be about this game. It could be about rain and his qualification scenarios and predictions. Abbas could be going and say, Vaninda is king of rash shots. I've seen it time and time again as an RCB fan, so I know what you're saying, Abbas. But bro, you expected Sri Lanka to put up a little bit of a fight here.
Like given the golden chance that they had to throw the cat among the pigeon in this group.
But did
I'm
you
really
think?
disappointed. यार थोड़ा तो close game को लेके जाते
But did
हैं
you
कि-
think them being 3 for 50 New Zealand, that is, would actually come out and like be so dominant in a game like this?
See, this is T20 cricket. First of all, कुछ भी हो सकता है.
Yeah.
And I really like the way Glenn Phillips and Daryl Mitchell approached the innings from there on. They just put their head down, एक दो over शांति रखी. उसके बाद they just slowly accelerated. You did not even realize that Phillips is already 40, and that is where the game spun actually. And I think that catch actually cost.
See, I know we always talk about during a game or after a game about hindsight, but if they actually did get Glenn Phillips, that if Peter Nisanga didn't drop him a long off, would it have been a different story that much? Or do you think Nisham and Santner could have still got them to 140?
See, they might have still got them to 140, and
Yeah.
even with if they were chasing 140, Sri Lanka would still be in the game despite losing those 3-4 early wickets, because to chase down 140, you just need one partnership at a decent pace. Not an exuberant pace, just decent pace. 120 के strike rate पे भी अगर एक 50-60 रन की partnership लग गई,
Correct.
that could be enough to chase down 140. 160 जब हो गया ना, उसके बाद you lose those 3-4 wickets. It's just too much. You are just giving it away. Literally, you're giving it away.
Okay, that's a good point that you mentioned. So, having said that, is Sri Lanka's batting let them down more or fielding?
So, for example, first of all, to lose a game by this margin,
Yeah.
just the margin say ये लोग हारेंगे, you need to suck in at least 2 or 3 departments, and that has happened. Fielding भी suck करा,
Batting भी suck
batting
किया.
भी suck करा. So,
And batting gets worse. Is it hit Spidey Cam? It hasn't. And Santner, oh my God, New Zealand have dropped the catch.
I don't
Big
think it even
breaking
touched
news.
it. भाई उसके hand पे touch भी करा गया. I mean, if नहीं करा तो technically it's not a drop catch.
Yeah, it's not a drop catch, but how often do we see Santner drop catches of his own bowling? Not very often, but he seduced Shanaka on us to play that shot, and the Sri Lankan skipper fell for it, but he gets it out of the wide of the cherry. But it's almost curtains. Vipulan going on to say, sure. In today's press conference, Vikram Rathore said they're not looking at replacing KL with Pant. Do you think coaching staff adamant with the same opening pair, even though we're not getting success?
I think they are kind of, but that has
Gone, yaar. Ye kya? This is schoolboy cricket, yaar. Even Santner can't believe it.
मैंने लाइक चलो ठीक है फटाफट खत्म होगा जल्दी कर जाएंगे मतलब होटल जाएंगे और क्या ही बताए मैच में.
Okay, not to really like paint Sri Lanka in a bad light, but you and me could do a better job.
Huh?
You and me could bat better. Come on, at least we'll take singles and get the score to like 100. Yeah, come on.
Sure, I can at least won't get out. I'll just keep batting, because one thing that can get me out is pace, and New Zealand के पास I think only Lockie Ferguson does that. But Yeah, 0-3 now. So nothing much is left in this game.
65 for 8. But going back to that question that was, what don't drop catches in the game. Go back to that question that Vipul Anand. There we go. Look, Shubh is a big Delhi Capitals fan, so obviously he has some siding with Rishabh Pant here. But many people in India actually would be looking at this question and be like, yeah, Pant played left-handed bhi hai, opening bhi karaya earlier in the England series. But how much of India's team management will look at that way?
India are not looking for a change, as Vikram Rathod said himself. I think they are a bit adamant right now, but see, just Rahul Dravid or Rohit Sharma, the way they have built this team,
Longer rope.
Yeah, it is about giving a longer rope to the players. We all know that KL Rahul has the ability to do whatever he wants on the field once he is in his element.
Yeah, or off the field.
Yeah, but see, so just because of his ability, they are backing him, which is right, I feel. But now the question is, he looks out of the nick. He's just not in the nick since he has come back to the side. He came back against Zimbabwe. He didn't have a good start. He struggled to get into the double figures across the 3 ODIs. So it's just apparent right now, just too obvious that KL Rahul is not in his best nick. And if you have a left-hander, Rishabh Pant, who, given the team doesn't have left-handers right now, I think if I was there, I would have made the change. But having said that, I also said Virat Kohli shouldn't be part of India's T20 World Cup. Then he turned it around. So I hope Mera ye bolna it will work as a jinx for KL Rahul's bad form and he will come back into the rhythm. Because he can. We all know that he has an excellent technique and all. It's just about the mindset.
And like Shubh rightly says, if there's anyone to replace KL right now, it's Pant. It's no brainer. But if Deepak Hooda is a shout, would you then make Kohli, Rohit open and then Hooda at 3, Surya at 4?
So if KL Rahul goes out and irrespective of who comes in, Pant comes in or Deepak Hooda comes in, I will ask Virat to open and Rishabh Pant comes at number 3 for me. और अगर दीपक हुड्डा भी आता है again same thing, Deepak Hooda can bat at 3 or Surya can bat at 3.
Has Pant batted at 3 for Delhi and stuff?
Yeah,
yes.
He has batted. I think he has batted all positions for Delhi.
One second, did you see that misfield from New Zealand?
They are taking it lightly. चलो ठीक है, पहला मैच भी 50-60 रन से जीत गए थे, ये 100 रन से जीत जाएंगे, इतना भी आगे नहीं जाना.
No, but this was come on, look at this. Just look at this.
So Sodhi again.
Not Sodhi, Akash.
I was about to say that is where I was taking it.
Akash would be absolutely pissed. They don't have 4 stars in their cap because they won 4 World Cups, because that's how their flag looks. So cut them some slack. 70, they've got to 70. 70 runs hai aapke paas, is Shah Rukh Khan.
Sodhi living up to
reputation. One second, we've got the man on the myth, the legend, Dan Weston, who's looking at his TV set saying, "What are you doing, Sri Lanka?" Dan, bizarre it's been. Somesh can't put his finger on it, so is Shubh, and so is we. Can you put your finger on it?
Oh, sorry, I missed the question. Sorry, just the question
Can you
again?
put a finger on where Sri Lanka have gone absolutely detrimentally wrong today? Was it their fielding or their shambolic batting?
Well, I think ultimately the match hinged on the drop of Glenn Phillips early on when he was on about 10, I think it was. An absolute dolly catch from Nissanka that was dropped. And obviously he went and punished Sri Lanka. I think it would have been a completely different game if that had been taken. I think, from memory serves me right, it would have been about 25-30 for 4 and a completely different game. That's been one of the key turning points of this game. But ultimately now you're looking at this Group 1 table and you're thinking New Zealand's net run rate. I mean, that's going to be unsurpassable. So that's almost worth another win in itself.
Is it safe to say then, Dan, that New Zealand are already one step into the semis, given how this Group 1 has been so chaotic to call? New Zealand are safe, right? To say.
Yeah, well, I think it would take a significant turn of events for them not to be safe, in terms of they're going to have to lose very, very heavily against England and then somehow get shocked by Ireland as well. I think it would be very, very, very unlikely. Yeah, so they look like they've got one foot in the semi-finals already for sure.
Yep, Arya was not around when they were 25 for 3, but now he's found his voice.
Yeah, Arya is a big Kiwi fan, so he's got in the comments saying New Zealand's superlative. But talk to me about Sri Lanka's thinking. Of course, they lost the toss. And we keep going back to that Glenn Phillips catch. But I was just talking to Shub, Dan, about whether that catch actually went straight to Nisanka's throat, and it would have been a different story, like you're saying. But they still had the likes of Nishim, Santner, Mitchell to perhaps huff and puff to 140. But even in that, Sri Lanka didn't really seem like they had the guile and the thought to chase a scoredown like that. Or am I wrong?
No, I think you're right, and this is something that the Samesh will recall as well that we spoke about in the Wrong Answer Western shows that Sri Lanka's batting really is extremely weak, and you look at them and you think them Bangladesh, two examples of some sort of full member nations who are very, very weak batting wise in T20. You look at the card today. I mean, it's like a series of phone numbers rather than a series of cricket scores. And credit to Rajapaksa, who at least tried his best. And how many times do you see someone coming in at after 2 overs at 5 for 3 and then actually still strike at over 150? You don't ever really see that. So he knew there was only one way to play, and credit to him for that. And but yeah, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. Like I said, when you look at the Sri Lankan lineup and you think, all right, tops, they're all their batting group really. You would Rajapaksa is the only person who you would even have even close to selection for a franchise league really.
So mad is head in the chopping block saying New Zealand are not going to do so. Sorry to rub that in. But just go on, because I know you want to ask Dan lots of questions.
Yeah, I mean, now this group was looking a mess before this game, but I think now it looks like very straightforward. New Zealand are pretty much in it. In the form that they are in, it doesn't seem...
Australia play the minnows.
Yeah, in the form that New Zealand are in, it doesn't seem like Ireland are going to beat them. It can happen, but it doesn't seem unlikely. Australia are lucky now because they have the two easier fixtures and it can help their run rate out. England have to beat New Zealand. They don't have an alternate, and they have to beat them well.
Yeah.
So actually, to be with Aussies at the 7 point, and then the net run rate comes into picture. So yeah, I mean, this group is made interesting, but a couple of options have gone off, like Sri Lanka. I mean, from this, it will be unlikely they recover. But Dan, I mean, now looking at their batting right now and the fielding specifically, does the Asia Cup win seems like an anomaly?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think we sort of said that a little bit at the time, and their bowling can in a full strength team in the conditions that suit them can be a real handful. We know we've seen Tikshana and Hazaranga wreak havoc over the last year against teams. Pace wise, I think that they're now weaker with the injuries to Kamira in particular has been a big blow. I don't see Lahiri Kamara had a real miserable day today, and I don't see him as an international quality replacement. And yeah, I think that ultimately, yes, that's the nuance of some of the short format tournaments that we see around the world. Where there's only a few matches. Sometimes a heavy underdog can win a few games, and especially if they've got good bowling attack, and maybe we can see that there. I look at this Sri Lankan batting, and I think it fills me with dread. But then that's no different to Bangladesh either, and certainly no different to a team like Netherlands either, who are from the associate pool as well. I feel exactly the same about all of them. Yeah,
I mean, we look at New Zealand right now, and they're getting themselves 2 brilliant wins, and then you throw that Melbourne field trip, like we like to call it, because it was a washout against Afghanistan. What is chinks in their armor, Dan? I mean, I know we saw that in the preview of the Western show where you guys talked about New Zealand in a larger depth, but right now, having looked at them in this tournament, they got one change today, Mitchell for Chapman. Don't know whether they'll go back to that exact level if they start against Australia. But if other teams are not plotting and planning for New Zealand, especially England on Tuesday in Brisbane, what are they kind of telling themselves? Where can they target New Zealand?
Look, I don't think New Zealand are as strong as the league table makes out right now. We've seen them score 167 today and 200 against Australia, and both times it's taken a worldy effort from one particular player, Conway against Australia, Glenn Phillips today, to get them to that total. Finn Allen is a massive danger man. So you look at Allen, Conway, Phillips is the three danger men, really, I think. I think that their tail is still quite long, and I think that ultimately the game against England is going to be all about England's batting versus New Zealand's bowling. New Zealand's bowling is high quality. England's batting, in theory, should be so as well, although it hasn't fired so far in this tournament. And there's definitely that debate that I've been having recently with England having too many players playing some form of an anchor role, which is really, really frustrating to watch, actually. So, yeah, I think it's all about that kind of mini battle between their bowlers and England's batters. And I still think New Zealand are weak, not weak in terms of, but weaker than the table looks. And I still would have loved to have seen them play against Afghanistan and be really tested by some extra high quality spinners. And we've just got to saw today a little bit as well, where they're not necessarily that strong against spin up front. So, yeah, let's see.
Yeah, you mentioned England, New Zealand there. It makes me cast my mind back to that semi-final last year's World Cup, where it was almost vice versa what you said. The fact that right now you're hoping England's batters against New Zealand bowlers, but last time it was New Zealand's batters against England bowlers, pretty much Jordan against Mitchell, and it came down to that. Will it be deja vu again, where the English are out of the competition in Brisbane? You would love that, wouldn't you?
Well, I'm an Englishman, but I'm not massively an English cricket supporter, if that makes sense. Yeah. In terms of, I get a little bit frustrated with the decision-making processes that they make, and so I don't really back them in a lot of senses in that way. Now, that said, I do want them to try and do well. I've got players in the team who I get on well with, and I want to see do well as well. So, you know, I've got some personal relationships in the squad as well. So, you know, for me, I just want to see a good game. I want to see the best teams get through to the knockout stages. If England deserve to get to knockout stages, then they've got to go out and beat New Zealand. If they can't go out and beat New Zealand, and they've already lost to Ireland, they don't deserve to get into the knockout stages. It's as simple as that.
Let's look ahead to that triple header on Sunday then, with India and South Africa being the main focus. Or sorry, we jumped the gun.
I don't think there's a lot of narrative here to talk about. We can actually take Dan's thoughts on tomorrow's game, India and South Africa. Who starts favorites, Dan?
In Perth, knowing it's a spicy venue.
I still think India for me are the clear favourites here for me against South Africa. Again, I see South Africa as a competent team, but one who perhaps has looked a little bit better than they could actually be so far this tournament, having smashed Bangladesh by quite some distance. And yeah, I think India would just look. Realistically, you look at India's resources, the player pool that they've got, the talent that they've got in their squad, the fact they can pick 3 or 4 or 5 teams and who would still have a competent chance of qualifying from this tournament. And you think, well, just go get the job done against these teams. And for me, yeah, India start the match as a solid favourites, regardless of any conditions or anything like that. And there's certainly more question marks I've got over the South Africa team, particularly the inclusion of Bavuma now, who's looking like a real problem for them up front against India, who just do. They've got question marks as well, no doubt about that. But whether South Africa can exploit that is another matter entirely.
So is it a straight swap then for Bavuma and Jansen?
Well, I don't think it's going to happen.
As much as you'd like it to happen. No, but jokes apart, any tactical changes that South Africa would like to bring into this one, knowing, of course, it's in Perth and all of that?
I don't think they're going to change the winning team. Probably will be my likely explanation. Yeah, you could look to try and get Jansen into the team in some way, shape, or form. If it was for someone like Parnell at 7, the tail looks super long, and I don't think it's going to be for Rabada or Norkia. So you might have to leave out a spinner if you're going to do that as well, a Maharaj perhaps. But yeah, no. Like I said, I wouldn't be on merit. You wouldn't have Bavuma in this team. Batting merit, you would probably be picking Reza Hendricks or from someone out of the squad like Yelena Milan or someone like that. But yeah, I think that it'd be surprised if South Africa didn't make a lot of changes, if any.
Then one question: can Jensen come in for Tabriz Shamsi? Because Shamsi, first of all, it is Perth, and Shamsi doesn't hold a very good record against India. His bowling average against India is 52.6 at an economy of 8.9. So these are really bad numbers. So can Shamsi make way for Marco Jensen?
I don't think it's going to happen. I'd be very surprised personally. I look at sort of records against teams, and sometimes I think that you might have to take them with a slight grain of salt sometimes in terms of sample sizes as well. Let's also remember that India are one of, if not the premier team around the world as well. So it would be natural that most bowlers would average worse and have a worse economy against India than other teams, and that's how averages and economy rates are weighted. Some of the certain percentage of time will be against high quality teams, certain percentage of time will be against poor quality teams. And I think Shamsi's done enough over the last few years to really, have his place in the team pretty secure, I would have thought.
Yeah, it's fascinating that you say that, because sometimes we think that these are the inevitable matchups, but like we've seen teams play their cards close to their chest, we can expect South Africa to do that. Now, we already saw a humdinger at Perth between an African team and a subcontinental team. Surely not, it's an African team this time around. And what do you make of that Zimbabwe-Pakistan one? Because there's so much talking about that game as well.
What game? That was one of the games of the tournament. I mean, in a tournament that's been awash with rain so far, it's been incredible that we've seen so many fantastic games so far. I mean, you couldn't even say it was the game of the tournament, having already watched India v Pakistan as well. I thought Zimbabwe, sorry, I should say, were so out of the game at half time. 130 against Pakistan. Pakistan always say 150, 160. That's their game. Chasing those kind of averagey scores. Easily done with the sort of throw anchors up the top, and you think, against Zimbabwe, 130 would be an absolute formality. And to be fair, I mean that's why I personally like T20 cricket more than the longer formats, because you do get these shocks happen more often. It is more of a level playing field. The shorter the format, you're going to see more shocks, and I love a shock. I want to see these. I want to see Ireland beat, renowned four-member nations. I want to see Zimbabwe do the same thing. I want to see the Netherlands do the same thing. So for me, I want to see these new heroes. And we saw against Pakistan a couple of Bangladesh. Rephrase that again. Zimbabwe players, they actually made themselves heroes, and it was great to see. Although I was a bit nervous with the run out at the end. I thought the keeper dropping it. I thought maybe he's screwed that one up. But no, it was good to see. Obviously, we know about the quality of someone like Blessing Muzabani, who's done very well in PSL and a couple of other leagues in the Zimbabwe bowling group. But now I think people are seeing that perhaps they're not just a sort of one-man attack. Sikandar Raza has done very, very well for them as well. Although I would temper my expectations. A lot of people are now talking about Sikandar Raza being a future IPL superstar, which I'm not quite so sure about. But yeah, it's great to see that Zimbabwe are doing this, and against Pakistan now, who've had two really tough to take defeats as well, and the implications of that are huge on them. I still think that their batting looks pretty unbalanced. They brought in dropped Asif Ali and brought in Mohammad Wasim. Mohammad Wasim, I don't really see. A lot of people see him as an all-rounder. I don't. I see him as a bowler who bats a little bit. and I still think that ultimately their squad is lacks balance in terms of having like a Sam Curran-esque type player, if that makes sense, like someone with that who can bat anywhere in the top 7 and be a frontline bowler. You know, like what Pakistan would do for someone like Benny Howell or someone like that right now would be fantastic for their balance. And I still, despite some runs earlier in the tournament, I still got my major doubts about Iftikhar Ahmed as well, and I really do think that they should have picked Azam Khan instead of him.
We're all chuckling away about how that game ensued, 129 played 130 and all of that. It gave me the impression, and most cricketing fans around the world, that both batting lineups couldn't keep up with the pace and bounce. I mean, credit to Zimbabwe's bowling attack, apart from Raza doing what he did. And I'll get Anida's question on as well. Do you think we'll see something like that tomorrow? It's a similar timing. It's an evening game. Both have good pace attacks. Talk about India's pedigree. We talk about South Africa's bowling depth as well. What Anida just said, that we know what Perth has, which is bounce. But in your opinion, does playing in a 40-year-old used pitch make a difference at all, Dan?
Yeah, I think that it definitely could make a difference. Used pitches for me, in my experience, tend to be a little bit more spin friendly than what you might see from a fresh pitch in Perth. And again, that probably leads to South Africa not tinkering too much with their lineup. Do India bring in someone like Deepak Hooda to combat the left-handers of South Africa would be a question, but I just don't really see how he fits into the group really. And so yeah, I think we could see a slightly different conditions. Generally speaking, I look at the used pitch and I think if there's 48 so 2 matches old on it, then that's now something to definitely consider. So in the 100 was always very, very interesting as well, because you would always have a women's match played on the pitch before the men's match. So if you're playing on a used pitch already, you would end up having a lot more run through it, because you'd have had the women's match and the men's match previous to that as well, and then the women's match before the men's match again. So it would really make a considerable difference actually in terms of kind of that spin threat, if that makes sense.
Yeah, one thing we can definitely say is that there's no rain interruption. We looked at multiple weather forecasts taking the sun with them. I mean, who would have thought that Pakistan game between India at the MCG would have not had one drop of rain? But I think even the rain gods that day were like, no, what? It's an India-Pakistan. You want to watch it as well. But look, jokes apart, just before we let Dan go, Sri Lanka folding before our eyes, 95 for 9, which is probably going to be the lowest score this year's World Cup, barring UAE 73, of course. And there's nothing really to celebrate. Is there still a possibility for Sri Lanka to have that say in their last 2 games? They're taking on Afghanistan and England? We've seen Sri Lanka beat England in that 2019 World Cup. Can they pull a rabbit out of the bag and not 1 but 2 contests? Or you think it's done?
I think against Afghanistan, I look at the match, I think it's about a 50-50 match. I think both teams have got world-class spinners. And some flaws in their batting group, and I think against England it's going to be all. I mean, you're going to look at the matchups there, and you think Tikshana and Hasaranga are going to have to take something like 6 for 40 against England if Sri Lanka are going to win between them, and that's it's possible but unlikely, I would say at the same time. So yeah,
Makur will have to bowl a lot of 5 wides.
Yeah. So I don't see Sri Lanka being a major contender now. I think it would take a really sort of long odds turn of events, if that makes sense, for them to make the latter stages now.
All right,
Dan, just before you go, predictions, triple header on a Super Sunday, just so we can hold you hostage later. 1 minute answers then. Bangladesh, Zimbabwe from Brisbane, 8:30.
That's a tough one. I don't think either team are particularly strong. I would love to see Zimbabwe win that. Maybe we talk about momentum not really being a thing, but I hope they bring a bit of momentum into that clash, be the form team and get the job done and pick up another win against a four-member nation.
And then the game between the 2 evenly matched sides, Pakistan and Netherlands.
Surely the Dutch, right?
We're going to go. Perhaps it'll be a third last ball defeat for Pakistan. But no, in all seriousness, I think Pakistan should have way too much for Netherlands tomorrow. I mean, unless someone like an Ackerman or an O'Dowd or a Deleda has the real day out with the bat for Netherlands, I just can't see them posting an above par score against any team.
And India, South Africa, the big one. Come on.
Yeah, my hat's in the India camp for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, super. With that music to our ears, we will let Dan goodbye. We'll say goodbye to him rather. What's been a tame game in regards to the Sri Lanka New Zealand affairs, but always fun to get Dan Weston and his chats about T20 cricket insights, a T20 romantic that he is. Dan Weston, thank you so much for making your presence.
Thanks, guys. Great to see you.
Thanks, man.
Right, wrong ones with Weston will of course resume once the World Cup's over, but there's plenty of content you guys can already check out of Dan and Som and Gurkirat, of course, and some fascinating conversations that these guys have had and busted myths about cricket and all of that. Talking about busting myths, what is Saudi doing? What is Santner doing?
Let's take Arya's.
Let's take Arya's question. 99 for 9 with 2 overs to go in a game. You know you've lost. What's the smartest batting strategy at this stage?
Walk out.
Strategic retiring.
Yeah, retired out. Save your energy. Save yourself. Save
Come on,
yourself from
3-digit score. Will they get it?
Let's do a digit dance.
Not yet.
Not really.
So earlier, by mistake, I said that Sri Lanka got out for 99 against Namibia.
Yeah.
99 for 9.
99 for 9 looks so aesthetic. I mean, you just walk from here. 99 for 9. Wow.
And think about what Saudi and Bolt have done today. Basically, between them, they've got 23 for 5 in 7.4 overs.
Yeah, this is what I was saying, right? See, now imagine if this target would have been 120. Because 120 he chase हो पाता Sri Lanka से उससे ज़्यादा तो नहीं हो रहा था कुछ भी change.
Good grief.
And that could have been.
And they get to the 100. That is the team.
Courtesy Saudi.
So can Sri Lanka beat Glenn Phillips? That's a good question now. Sri Lanka 100, Glenn Phillips 104. They need 5 more of 7 balls, 8 balls. Guys, okay, let's have a friendly bet. Glenn Phillips or Sri Lanka? Who's winning this one?
I think Phillips.
Phillips? Sure. Streaky boundary pass fine like before.
भाई कुछ नहीं कह सकते भाई यहाँ पे कैच का चौका आ जाएगा साउथ एक और वाइट डाल देगा
बोले को तो कुछ भी हो सकता है ना
Raji Human.
Rajita is definitely playing for his average.
Raji, where were you the whole afternoon? We missed you in the comments. Raji Human. New Zealand is an unrated team, always in a World Cup. They're a tournament team, as Anirudh Suresh goes on to say.
About New Zealand, yeah. I mean, I was not giving them any chance before the 2021 T20 World Cup वो final तक पहुंच गए. अब भी मैंने कोई chance नहीं दिया था यार. Marching toward the semis.
Yeah, he makes a good point.
अगली बार chance देगा.
But he makes a good point, bro. Look, I mean, essentially, if you think about it, Kane as a captain has just had great success in ICC tournament. Name a better captain who's had so many knockouts.
Yeah, man.
Dhoni?
So, Raja, do you think he's a better captain between the two captains whose name starts with K? Yeah, Kane, Kohli, वो first and second.
Oh yeah, that's what I was just like. Wow, yeah, that was a Kohli.
Also missing my Harry Words.
Harry Words, Potter wali.
थोड़ा cheesy हो गया Harry भाई.
Harry Words. India, South Africa, by the way, tomorrow 4:30. Join us then. I'm sure you guys are going to be getting in some good things to eat. A 4:30 game, and then you guys can ping us. We're going to have lots of fun during that watch along. Who do we have? Alter and Amit Sinha. Do we have Amit Sinha?
Yes, we have Amit Sinha.
We have Amit Sinha for that one.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep, Arya correcting Rajay there. McCallum was the captain. But I think, I mean, in the last New Zealand game, we were discussing how they are actually similar to how the CSK team is.
Yeah.
They commit fewer mistakes than the opposition, and I think Dhoni would have been very happy had he been New Zealand captain. But
the thing is, even if New Zealand drop catches, they'll drop catches that really don't matter. Like we saw Santner drop a catch of his own bowling, and that doesn't really cost them. But like important moments, important run-outs.
That is some slack.
True.
He dived full length almost.
True, but I'm saying if that catch mattered, he would take it.
Yeah.
Knowing New Zealand, how
he would have.
Phillips won.
And Akash finished the game.
What a close game we had. Glenn Phillips winning by 2 runs only.
Glenn Phillips, honestly, well done.
Went down till the wire in the last over.
Glenn Phillips beat Sri Lanka by 2 runs.
With 4 balls to split.
Oh my God. And Akash Sivasubramaniam getting a wrong one to wrap up proceedings.
I'm really interested to see
AK
New
is
Zealand
so
net run rate kahan tak pahunchta. They were already plus 4.5. Now they won by
Oh, what's
65 runs.
what is happening here? Why are they all paused?
When it's ball, I think they're checking for the no ball.
Are they checking for the no ball? Wow,
Oh,
Hampson win. 65 runs.
No, I think confirmed. No.
It's confirmed. Saudi having a terrific day, Bolt having a terrific day, but the star of the show, Glenn Phillips, who got 2 lives, but he certainly made the soul of it.
I want my Saturday back.
Yeah, we honestly won a 3 hours, 30 minutes, and 28 seconds back. But look, honestly, jokes apart, it's been absolutely fun to obviously pick all you guys in the comments below on your comments, questions. We had Dan, we had Glenn Pocknell, who made his debut, and not to forget Michael Santner as well. I was going to say Mid-Center. Michael Wagner, beg your pardon. And Shub, and not to forget Bishan and Anirudh as well. Guys, I'm actually looking forward to tomorrow. We might even potentially, maybe Som can confirm this, get on with the Pakistan-Netherlands second innings. If it goes down to be the Zimbabwe game, it is. Who knows? But join us around 4:30, 4:15 to be precise for the India-South Africa game. And we'll, of course, leave it there. But until then, it's been a good game. I know you just said you want your salary back, but what's the plan now?
Nothing. They'll go out, shed a tear.
Why did we pick this game? You know, the best part about it is we didn't have New Zealand Sri Lanka slated a part of our initial watch-along plan, but because of the stupid rain yesterday in England, Australia, we were thinking, no, this game we have to do it.
And we were actually,
You can't blame yourself.
we were actually thinking, what a good choice till the power play. Till the first part of the first, we were like, what a decision. What a
Genius.
Genius. But garbad ho gaya pura.
But वो जी दूसरा वाला
Tumne
निकला.
Sanka had other plans with bad ball and the field.
Yep. So look, Sri Lanka's day to forget. New Zealand once foot in the semi-final, if I dare say.
There are not one, there are 2 great games tomorrow. Bangladesh, Zimbabwe, I'm looking forward.
Yeah, that's
Zimbabwe beating
amazing.
Bangladesh would be great because Bangladesh की जो जलेगी ना उसके
Yes.
No
Once-
hate,
Jali,
no hate,
Jali, no?
no hate against Bangladesh, but you know. So
Oh, and that's at Brisbane. So hopefully the rain stays out there. Srivatsan, bye. Like you said, it's a goodbye from all of us here. Have a fantastic Saturday ahead. And Super Sunday, like I keep harping upon, CDC Watchalong, India, South
I
Africa,
think
join us.
Akash himself, he just keeps talking about Akash. Where is the Chennai mom? I think he was talking
No, but
about
his comments come in even when Akash is here. So we have to
उसने बंदे लगा रखे हो यार.
लगा रखे
एक
हैं
सोदी को बिठा रखा होगा कि कमेंट
भाई.
कर
बड़े लोग हर काम के लिए लड़के रख लेते हैं.
Look, we can keep going on with these two. Thanks so much for watching.
Sean.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.